Understandable. Have a good day.
Damn RIP Joe Rogan. Hope you had a good day, chat wide people. Happy bonus meme, DGG for life, DGG brother man.
You gnome fuck!
Second stream, DGG for life, DGG for life, DGG for life, DGG for life. Bonus meme 2. Bonus meme 7777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777777ppʞ
gnome fuck!
Time for a guitar solo. Yam wah wah woo wah 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 woo wah wah wee woo wah 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 oh wah wah oh ah wah wah oh wah wah woo wah 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 woo wah wah wee woo wah 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 oh wah wah oh I wah wah oh wah wah w.
Well, well, well. If it isn't...
Stephen Tony.
Yeah. How are you? Hey, does China fund you to invade the capital of the United States? No, nobody
coordinated the whole thing going into the Capitol. Go ask them. Yeah, the police let Antifa in. They opened the doors.
Your lie,
and they walked in.
hey, your lie has been exposed. Your lie has been exposed. Your lie has been exposed. You're a liar. You're people. No, it's not a democracy. This is a republic. This is a republic. This is a republic. No, this is a republic. We the people, not you the elitists. We the people. Democracy. You fill your money with pot, our money? You fill your pockets? I work for my constituents, boss.
Who are you?
You literally got no spine.
Who are you?
Who are you? Looking at me.
I'm me, motherfucker.
And I'm me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody here voted for you. We don't want
That's okay.
We don't want
That's
you.
okay. I don't work for you.
Why are you ashamed of who voted for you?
A lot of people. 70% of people in my district.
What city?
Did they use the minion?
What city?
The best one.
Did they use the minion?
And you will never get elected. Don't ask the
What's your name?
My children's
Don't
future
ask
is
the
fucked.
question.
My children's future is fucked because of motherfuckers like you.
No, lady. It's because of you.
No, it's because of you.
You get money from China?
What? Because I don't take your
And you're
money.
talking shit to us.
I live in your district. You're supposed to be taking care of us. Where do you live? Where do you live? Where do you live?
Are you a Democrat?
Where do you live?
Hey, are you a Democrat? You fucking rat!
We the people
You're a Democrat.
don't like you.
All the same. Yeah, all the same. You don't give a shit about any of us. You care about your pockets. You care about your fucking pockets. Your pocketbook. Your pocketbook. How much cash does your
You
dick?
are not a fucking patriot.
I'm a patriot.
China!
So am I.
You love China!
Fucker.
You love China!
Do you work for China?
Motherfucker.
Okay, go work in China.
Maybe
Go
Russia's
work.
better. Maybe
I'm not from Russia, honey.
Comrade.
But I'm not
Comrade.
from Russia. So what? I thought you were pro-women, pro-immigrants. Why you call me Russian?
Russia.
Because I have an accent? Is that why you're saying I'm
I don't
Russian?
know. What are you talking to me about China
Why are
for,
you
ma'am?
saying Russia? I want to know why. Because I'm not
you're
from
saying
Russia.
China. What are you saying
But
China
I'm not from
for?
Russia
I'm
because
not
you
from
work
China.
for China. Yes, you do,
No, I'm
honey.
What's that? Sir, can I
Nice. Whoa, disarm immediately! Am I getting shot at? Disarm immediately! Am I getting shot at? Am I getting shot at? Shot at? Shot at? Shot at? God damn it.
To bomb the museum, we couldn't determine that it was him plotting to bomb the museum because we don't believe her to be an evil bitch, so it's entirely possible that he was threatening somebody else.
My client is confident in standing on the grounds that she is an evil bitch. Is that true, client?
Yeah, I'm an evil bitch.
With this evidence brought forward...
To bomb the museum, we couldn't determine...
I don't care about this. Ask me to quitting streaming indefinitely. Rip. Wonder why.
I guess what I do around here just isn't enough.
Hello. I know I'm a bit late on this, but recently there was a debate between a few social...
People are mad because he just wasn't streaming WoW. Yeah, sounds about right. Read it out loud. Basically, MPD, Capitol Police both just fucked up super duper fucking hard, and people are trying to blame it on Trump or blame it on white nationalism or blame it on racist cops. But the reality, that I'm probably not going to read anything more about this. Just the same as what we've read into this the past few days. The MPD, the Capitol Police, just fucked up hard. The mayor, the Capitol Police, fucked up hard. Like, that's all there is to it. They just totally, completely just underestimated how many people would be there. Vegan Gains is in YouTube chat, says he wants to debate. What does he want to debate about? Debate me on veganism? It's fucking boring. Tell me, convince me that I should give a fuck about animals. Go. In one message or less. Keyword, you can't.
My friend Melina is, you know, Destiny's, you know, fiance, and she tells me a lot about him that, you know, he doesn't really say and stream and stuff like that. And like, I just
LOL, convince me why I should care about you, because if you were to do something bad to me, police would kill you. There's a society that would enforce laws around you doing damage to me. That's why we have laws. That's why we're all bought into a society with restrictions on how we can or cannot treat each other. If we lived in a society where I'd get murdered if I would kill a dog, I'd probably be vegan. Or a cow, I should say. Or a chicken. Yeah, I'm gonna say big fat fucking no on stupid shit like this, okay? I'm good. You know what? You know what? We got plenty of fucking laws on the books for dealing with domestic terrorists, for spying on U.S. citizens, for law enforcement having tons of fucking tools. I'm good on this one, Chief. I don't need you drafting up new fucking laws because you're scared, because for once in your life, your ass was on the fucking line. I'm good on that one, homie. Fuck this shit, and fuck anybody that supports any of the laws coming out of this shit. You fucking morons on the fucking left, and anybody on the right that supports this or whatever, will sit here and clamor for this fucking shit, and then turn around and be like, why did we pass the Patriot Act after 9/11? I don't understand. You guys are so dumb. Fuck out of here, bullshit. Enforce the laws on the fucking fucking books. We got plenty of shit on the books for dealing with people like this. I don't need to be having laws drafted, giving more law enforcement power to fucking patrol and surveil and do all sorts of random fucking charges and shit on American citizens in the middle of some shit like this. Fuck that. Would you even call the Capitol mob terrorists? I don't think I would go that far. I think you can go that far. Sure. Using terror to incite fear in a population, or coups or whatever. I don't know. No, if Destiny is going to use social consequences as an excuse, then that would justify slavery. Oh, is that true? So could I go and buy you right now? Would that work? Or are there social consequences or legal consequences for that? What do you mean? I don't think you can justify slavery right now, because it seems to me that slavery is pretty fucking illegal, my dude. Haven't you said that it makes sense for political parties to play for power after a tragedy? Yeah, but that doesn't mean we should support the government trying to grab up power in the face of a tragedy. This is like the worst time to fucking draft legislation. Oh, okay, so if we impose social consequences for killing animals, it would therefore be wrong? No, but it would make me be vegan. That's all I'm saying. I don't think that there's any universal right or wrongs. That's the reason why I don't like debating veganism, is because at some point in the conversation, once we've moved past the applied ethics of whether we should or shouldn't be vegan, once we've moved through whatever normative ethics, jerking off bullshit we want to do, and then we get into the bullshit of meta ethics, at some point, you're going to have to assert some bullshit that I'm not going to agree with. I'm going to assert some bullshit that you're not going to agree with, and neither of us are going to be any righter than the other person, because at the end of the day, whether or not we appreciate human life, whether or not we morally value another person, is all arbitrary bullshit at the end of the day, one way or another. We can push for the world that we think we ought to live in, but at the end of the day, all of it is arbitrary bullshit. There is no right, there is no wrong. We live in an indifferent universe. Get the fuck over it, okay? There you go. Destiny just contradicted himself. You just claimed social consequences do and don't matter. Ah, Destiny. Oh, I don't know my glasses. You've activated my trap card. Logical fallacy. Logical fallacy. Contradiction, Destiny. You just claimed that social consequences do matter when it comes to pressuring you into changing your behavior, but now you said that they don't matter when it comes to determining moral truth. And I think that that's a contradiction, because I don't understand the difference between those two things. Ha, gotcha. Stop posting SNK comics. No one cares about your shitty fucking Chinese cartoons, okay? AOC-based take. As the vice chair of the Oversight Committee who ran investigations of domestic terror logs, I respectfully disagree. The House must, as an immediate step, pass the domestic terror statute. Oh, our problem on Wednesday weren't that we weren't enough law resources. If we had them, based. Last time you debated a vegan, you got embarrassed pretty bad. I guess making a joke about all of this is all you can do. You contradicted yourself, bro. Get over it. Okay, vegan gains. You know what? I have Discord. Destiny #00. Or I don't want to read my whole thing. Go into my Discord and just fucking jump into general chat. And I'll drag you in, buddy. Okay? And I'll ask you a few questions. Okay? Hop on. Let's do it. God, the only thing that makes me more excited than veganism debates are fucking abortion debates. Oh God.
You gnome fuck!
You gnome fuck.
Hello, hello. Oh, just a troll. I'm IP banning anybody that is renaming themselves, by the way. I don't know why I said that. I can't IP ban from Discord. I came for comfy Metal Gear Solid 2 content. I'm having some doomer hours right now. If you have a vegan debate, it might be the thing to push me over the edge. Ha, you don't know anything about doomer hours. Or you might actually, who knows? I know what you mean, bro. Join the doomer club. I was reading Trihex's chat during our debate today. You want to talk some doomer shit? Hypotheticals are useless because they don't exist, LeMayo. What? What a great statement. X is useless because it's not real. Fiction is useless because it's not real. Like, art is useless because in ways it isn't real. Like, what a base take. I hate this shit. I was just copy pasting random segments of the chat that I thought were like really good. Hypotheticals are mental masturbation. Hypotheticals are so dumb. Everything Destiny says all just boils down to, what will it take for you to not support this thing so I can say I'm right? Get the fuck out of here, LeMayo. The funny thing is that Triax's chat got real fucking quiet when it turned out that I was actually the only person on that call that supported like the most hardcore form of cash reparations for African Americans. That was the funny thing. The chat very quietly like shut the fuck up after like an hour into the debate when they realized that like I was actually the only person there that had the hardcore position of supporting cash reparations for African Americans. But it's funny to watch them all kind of like shift and move on that opinion as they follow along like their streamer during the debate or whatever, and none of them acknowledged that. I thought that was very fucking funny. Can you move the notepad over? The chat is overlapping a bit. What if reality was magic and something nonsensical was the actual reality? Would you still want to fix the thing that magically isn't a problem anymore? How stupid do you have to be that you can't entertain a hypothetical? Is that really that difficult? Seriously? That's really that hard? These hypotheticals are pretty trash, not gonna lie. What if a meteor made of gold fell from the sky and blew up and landed perfectly in everyone's laps and everyone was rich? Would you still want reparations? Hypotheticals about the past are literally pointless and just used in debate-lord ways. If you can't use history in your policy, you don't understand how the world works. What if you whittled the nuanced problem down into a one-dimensional hypothetical and then tried to apply it to the greater problem, ignoring the nuance? Feel like you've been having some doomer conversations / takes about women in relationships lately. You feel like giving some more uplifting advice or news? Yeah, listen. Avoid all interpersonal human relationships and learn to love music. Because it's
You're
awesome.
looping on recursive levels.
Do you think funding black communities would go further than direct cash reparations to black citizens? Okay, here's the literal black-pilled position that I have on cash reparations. I didn't want to go all the way during the debate, okay? If you owe me money because you stole shit from my fucking dad, I don't want you to tell me how to fucking spend that money. Fuck you. That's bullshit. If I want to waste that, if I'm a black person and my dad, my granddad, and my great-granddad were fucking slaves, you need to pay them money, and you gave me cash, I could go and fucking buy all the fucking watermelon and fried chicken I want, and you could suck my fucking dick. Because fuck you, it's owed. That's owed money. That's owed fucking money. You don't have any right to say that like, oh, well, you should invest it in schools. Oh, you should invest it. No, fuck you. Even if I'm going to throw, even if black communities wanted to set that fucking money on fire, even if they wanted to buy flat screen TVs and fucking the lifted fucking Mercury or Lincolns or whatever the fuck they want to waste the money on, who the fuck cares? It's their money. You don't have a right to tell somebody how they can spend owed money. That's fucking crazy. You really got to control your impulse to say edgy shit. It's not even edgy shit. It's not edgy to say that somebody should be allowed to spend money the way that they want to spend it. Even if it's on the worst, most stereotypical shit that you can think of. Even if it's like, black people would waste their money on fucking rap album. Who the fuck cares? You can give every black person a fucking $1 million and they can go and spend it all on every fucking Wu-Tang, whatever the worst thing you can think of. Whatever the weed, fucking hookers, whatever the worst thing you can think of for somebody spending their money on, that's their right to spend it that way because it's money that's owed to them. You don't have a right to tell somebody how they spend money that you owe to them. Period. End of discussion. It's the most woke position. Get mad, get uncomfortable because you're fucking white. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just asked what you thought would do more, not which is the right choice. I think direct reparation is the right choice. Oh, what would do more would be government-guided intervention in communities, of course. But like, the best way that you personally could manage your money is you never actually get to touch your fucking money, is that somebody else manages it for you. But in terms of like what's morally right, if you morally owe somebody something, if you owe that to them, then that's their money to spend. You have no fucking right to tell that person how they spend their money or where it should go or that they should invest it here or that they should put it in their community. They can waste that money on whatever the fuck they want. It's their right. I thought both of them were kind of worrying about black people spending money on white companies. Yeah, fuck it. Who cares, dude? Yeah. But that, I mean, like, hey, listen. That's my opinion. If people think that it should be like directed more, bro, Vegan Games isn't able to join your voice chat. What do you mean? It's the fucking general lobby. It's not even letting me message in the server. Join general lobby in the fucking thing, and you should be able to be fine. How do you arrive at that ethically? Okay, here's the hypothetical. Let's say that I find out that my great grandfather was promised $100,000 for his work. Okay, let's say that every other fucking community in the fucking country got rich off the backs of people like put yourself in this mindset, okay? My ancestors were fucking slaves that built this fucking country, and even the ones that were successful, even when every fucking place in the country was like, no black people, no N-word, blah, 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 no, none of these people, I can't actually say because I don't know if I get better at it, right? That was his policy. Even when they found like small fucking communities to build up places in, right? Was it the Greenwood community or whatever in Tulsa? The Black Wall Street or whatever? Or a whole bunch of lawyers and doctors and financial consultants and black people actually found a fucking, even in that place when it gets torched to the fucking ground, it was like 200 fucking people, over 1,000 people injured, all that wealth just fucking up in smoke, right? When shit is owed to you and everybody else in the country got rich off of the labor of your ancestors and they didn't even get compensated for it, how are you not owed some of that money? And now you have to watch your fucking fellow people fucking sell drugs in fucking ghettos or do crime or gang shit and then get locked in prison. And now other people are telling you guys are the problem. It's your fault. You need to fix your own communities. You need to figure shit out. It's like, man, that's easy to say, like in a fucking world that we built for you, that we have to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps. Like, that's fucked. I don't know. In my opinion, that's just a really fucky mentality to have. Like, but Destiny, on the other hand, you aren't entitled to your parents' income, so why should you get any of it across time? You are entitled to your parents, but that's the thing. That's the thing. You are. Children absolutely benefit from their parents' like income, from their parents' like intergenerational wealth. And I don't just mean cash transfer from daddy to son. I mean like the transfer of knowledge, the transfer of education, the transfer of contacts and connections and strong families and good communities and nice houses and support for your children. Like all of this stuff is transferred from generation to generation to generation to generation. Like, even if you're not getting a $100,000 check from your daddy when he dies or when you turn 18, the other stuff that you're inheriting up before that point is, like, invaluable. Realistically, how could you distribute this to who most deserves it without bankrupting the country? I don't think we would bankrupt the country. I don't know. Make fucking payments, dude. Damn. What would reparations solve that progressive taxes and investment in black communities wouldn't? This is the thing. Like, it's not about, reparations aren't about fixing black communities. Reparations aren't about making African Americans whole again. Reparations aren't about making them get over their history of slavery or making them feel better or uplifting black. It's just about paying a debt that's owed. It's about like making due on like a promise that the United States had made to a lot of ex-slaves that they walked back on. Like, that's all it is. If it helps black people, that's fine. If it doesn't fucking matter. It's still owed. Not taking a side, I'm pretty neutral on this. It's just actually interesting to see you take this stance given your reputation. I don't even know what the fuck that means. Oh, well, let's find out what that means. Let's continue to read. Let's see. All black people can't be part of the 1%. What the fuck? Why is Irrelevant dying on this hill? Destiny agreed with it at the start, and this is only about cash, reparations, all blah, blah, blah. Oh, they're shitting on Irrelevant because he asked a hypothetical. Get this guy out of here. If racism didn't exist, but now it's fine. Bro, this guy doesn't live in the real world. Get to the point. What point is he trying to get across? What the fuck is this line of thinking? This bro must live in a hypothetical world. Oh my god. Destiny, what about Native Americans? Wouldn't making it... listen, morality wasn't invented until like 1890 or some shit. Fuck, listen, Native Americans are fucked, okay? That's too far back. We're not going back. Listen, American Indians are fucked, all right? That's just... That's just a whole other... That's just, we're not talking about that right now. Destiny thinks this will get him the N-word pass. We're flaming him because he's on the side of injustice. How to entertain a wild hypothetical that could never be. I can't believe people have such a hard time dealing with hypotheticals. Isn't this completely against your previous view with Indigenous people in Canada, where you were against giving back the land, etc., at the expense of... So my problem with giving back land, so to more seriously engage with the American Indian question or the Indigenous peoples of Canada, the problem with giving back land, I think that you could do cash reparations to African Americans, and it wouldn't be like... It wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, we could handle that. We could do that, and it wouldn't, like, completely negatively fuck up a ton of people's lives. But in terms of, like, giving land back to people, that would, like, cause the uprooting of so much of society that you could probably do some, like, moral calculus and figure out that, like, this just isn't, like, a morally good thing to do. Destiny, totally agree with wealth transfers to the black community, but basing it on ethically or on a property interest of something of entitlement to Mr. Mark, at a certain point we have to stop litigating past harms and just do what's best for these communities. I understand that, but like the problem that I have, the fucky thing that's so weird about that is that when you go back prior to 1964, people weren't not selling homes to people because they were poor or because they were in a bad community or because they didn't have access to credit. They did it because they were black. That's the problem. So when you discriminate against people or enslave them for hundreds of years because they're black, and then in 2020 you're like, okay, well, we're going to help people now that are poor. I don't know. It seems to miss the mark a little bit. It seems that like it feels a little bit fucked up in my head. Like, I understand that in an overall like kind of utilitarian way that distributing money to the poorest in society and looking at things based on class might be the way to go. But like, I don't know. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not fucking black, so I don't ever have to worry about it. But I feel like if my ancestors were enslaved... Fuck off. What are you... No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I feel like at the end of the day, if my ancestors were enslaved for being black, and then in the future we're like, well, we need to make do on that, so we're going to pay people that are poor. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't fuck with us in the past because we were fucking poor. It's because we were black. What the fuck? That's how I view it.
Wait,
yeah.
How did the end of all that... Am I getting a check or what?
You won't be, because the checks are only going to go to people that aren't negatively. We're taking an intersectional approach, and since you're a woman, you instantly lose all the checks because you sit at the top of the black pill hierarchy. I'm using black pill in the MGTOW incel here. Where it is.
As a black, am I getting a check or not? Wait, what's your stance?
Go get a check from fucking sugar daddy, okay? We're Grug W here now, okay? We're not going to be bullied by pretty women. We're not going to let them come over and take over our minds and wallets anymore, okay?
Look, how do you feel about the fact that like you're like having debates about it and you guys you're thinking the big brain about all this shit, and like I just got a native like reparation check not too long ago.
Don't talk about it. Wait, hold on 1 second. This is the shirt, by the way. This is the shirt that she wanted me to wear for this debate.
Yeah, I just wanted you to wear it in general. I didn't know if you were going to show it. I'm so excited.
Jesus.
Put it on.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Why don't you put it on?
Because that's a Saturday shirt, okay?
Then you don't have to answer the question anymore.
Yeah, everybody can just read it.
Everyone's just gonna know. I got that for you.
Yeah, I figured either that or a fan sent it, or Jesse Lee Peterson maybe shipped it to me.
Do you know why?
A
couple of reasons. But the straw that broke the camel's back was there's this video of you where this black lady tells you that you need to go suck on a titty. And I think that you like that. And so I just feel like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think you need more black women in your life. Oh, let's start a campaign. Let's find some.
The campaign to find black women for me to be friends with?
Okay, I guess when you put it like that, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it
Let's
sounds
just think of it as like less low key. We'll figure it out.
Do you think there's more black women in Miami or Austin? Uh-oh.
I don't have the PowerPoint ready right now,
Yeah.
but I will. I will say as a little teaser, there's been some recent developments.
In what?
There've been maybe I have some heavy artillery.
Are you gonna make more black people? Are you pregnant? I don't understand what the heavy artillery is here. What?
I'm talking about the campaign of Florida versus Austin. Like,
Oh,
hello?
gotcha.
That's
My
what I'm
bad.
in.
That my mind was just in a totally different gear right now. Sorry.
Obviously. Well, I'm glad that you're fighting the good fight for me, and I hope I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, am I not supposed to say that? I don't know anything about politics.
Okay. Well, listen, you're good. Don't worry. They can't cancel you because you're a woman.
Oh no, they can. They can. I can be excommunicated.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I just popped in to ask that. What are you gonna do tonight?
Well, I got this guy below me called Vegan Gains, who's one of the few people on the internet about as sociopathic as I am. So we're gonna argue about animals for about 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna be done with that. And then who knows what's happening for the rest of the night?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll pray for him. Okay.
Okay. What do you want, Scrubber?
Well, I was just going to say you should put your money where your mouth is, start handing out reparations checks to your black...
Yeah, I already handed out reparations checks to fucking Doug of CA, okay? So go get it from him, okay?
Oh, fuck.
Good luck.
Oh, and when it comes to black women, with Florida, it's going to matter whether or not you count Dominican people. Okay, goodbye.
Oh, true. Okay. Hello, Vegan Gains.
Hey, what's up, man?
Nothing much. Just looking forward to a riveting conversation about veganism.
All right, well, you just said you responded to me, when I was in the chat, you said lack of social consequences makes it okay to kill animals.
No, I'm saying that's why I don't do it. I was like giving you like a descriptive position, not telling you like morally we ought to do something because of a thing. I was just explaining why.
So you're saying why you do it personally?
Yeah.
Because there's no social consequence?
Yep.
Okay, so have you maintained basically the same position from our last debate?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so essentially you're saying because animals cannot form a social contract with us, therefore it's okay for us to murder them?
Yeah, basically that there will be like no repercussions for eating animals indefinitely, so yeah.
Okay, wait. Now you're basically going back on the position you basically just said it, like when you're responding to me in chat.
Which was what?
Like well, you said because there's no social repercussions for you, therefore it's morally okay to kill animals.
Oh, I don't think that there's I don't believe that there are like objective moral truths in the world. So I just kind of like.
Well, it doesn't matter if they're like. I'm not talking about there being objective moral truths. I believe
cool.
morality is subjective as well.
Oh well, if you believe morality is subjective, then why should I care about animals?
Okay, well we have our own sort of goals, right? Like we don't want to see children getting raped.
Sure. So my goal is to maximize like human well-being.
If your goal is to maximize human well-being, then clearly the world going vegan would maximize human well-being, because if you read the UN's latest climate report, chapter 5, page 76, they actually outline how switching to a completely plant-based food system would improve food security. So it would be able to produce more food, adequate nutrition for a larger population using less land than we currently have today. People on a plant-based diet live longer. They have lower risk of chronic disease.
Yeah.
The risk of zoonotic diseases, so like the coronavirus or any other new novel viruses that'll pop up, it's going to be massively reduced because we have less contact with animals.
Yeah.
And we're certainly not going to put them in, these tight confined spaces. We're not going to cage them. We're not going to put bats next to pangolins, that type of stupid shit. So if you're like interested in maximizing the well-being of the human species, then clearly you'd support veganism.
Yeah, in terms of like economic policy and in terms of like climate policy, of course. Yeah, for sure.
So then why the hell aren't you vegan?
Because me going vegan personally represents a great cost to my personal life and makes absolutely zero gains in terms of the overall climate of the planet. Why the fuck would I make such a huge sacrifice personally if other people weren't forced to do it?
Okay, so let's say banning slavery would be a huge benefit to the human race, which I'd say it is. And you were a slave owner, would you?
Wait, let's move to less loaded examples because you're going to do the thing where you're like, what? Will you? No. I would like to. I'm not weaseling out, but the problem is that like if I answer the hypothetical like honestly or accurately, like you're going to take a sound clip and you're going to put like the dumbass fucking glasses on to make like the clip.
No. I don't do that.
You literally do. I literally watched you make a response video where you like wear like the glasses and have the facial hair, and you give like my answers verbatim to your things because you're posing like insane hypotheticals, which normally I don't mind entertaining. But like when I know you're gonna strum the fuck out of me and like do emotional appeals afterwards, like it's just really annoying.
Okay, I made a response video to you once, and I don't recall doing any kind of skits.
Okay, for some reason I feel like I remember skits of you where you wear like glasses and have facial hair and you were like wearing a lumberjack shirt or whatever. Are you sure that this isn't a video you've made before in the past?
Lumberjack shirt. I can't remember me making a video response to you and me doing any skits. I recall doing a pretty serious response where basically I was just responding to your position that animals can't form a social contract. But like, look, change. Like the point I'm trying to make here is that change has to start with you. If you want like to see the world go vegan, or if you want to see slavery be abolished, how the hell can you like support these things while owning slaves? You know what I mean?
Oh well, my fundamental axiom is that I think we should do our best to like maximize human well-being. So I wouldn't be able to own slaves.
Right. Okay. And if you want to maximize human well-being, then why would you support the animal holocaust, which negatively impacts the human race?
Because me enslaving an individual like violates like to a huge maximum like my individual goal of maximizing human well-being. Me going vegan has a negligible impact on anything in society and represents a great cost personally to me.
Okay, well, the biggest choice you can make in terms of like your environmental impact, it's actually your diet. So I don't understand how you
the individual. Do you understand and accept that the impact that any one individual has on climate change is negligible?
Okay, any one individual, but the biggest change that you can personally make would be your diet.
But
and
that
again,
individual change,
well, look,
do you understand that individual change represents a great personal cost and does essentially nothing for the environment?
What do you mean a great personal cost?
As in you have to make like a significant change to your life in order to do it.
No, you really don't.
Yeah, you really do.
No, like,
yeah.
Okay, so when you go to KFC,
yeah, you really
do.
do.
When you go to KFC, you have to choose the plant-based burgers rather than get the normal burger. Like,
so I'm not sure like which like ultra fucking like shining white suburb you live in, but like finding like good vegan food in like every part of the world that you go to is usually pretty difficult. Making like sacrifices, it's not making sacrifices to go like with all like I know like I live in LA now, so there's like Impossible Burgers and all that shit in a lot of the places around here, but not every single place around the world, not even every single place in the US is like that. And then food is like one of the hugest things of a person's life. Like literally you eat like 2 or 3 times a day, you engage with food more than almost any other thing. And like the vegan substitutes right now for meat taste like shit compared to the actual thing. So in terms of like all the sacrifices I could make in my life, like going vegan would be like a pretty big one. Like it would be a pretty big detriment to like I would have to deal with like 2 times of the day for me. So yeah, I would say that's like a decent like drawback.
Giving up on owning a slave would be a pretty big detriment to a slave owner.
Thankfully, owning a slave is like right there, like against my maximum of like maximizing human well-being. And not owning one slave makes a significant difference in the life of that one slave. Not participating in animal agriculture is basically a wash in society at the end of the day. It makes no difference.
Okay, so you're saying it would benefit the human race not to, partake in animal agriculture, but you're still going to support animal agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, I would vote against it if I had to, but in terms of like partaking in it, like whether or not I do or don't, at the end of the day is a wash. So what motivation do I have to partake in an activity that significantly harms me or changes my lifestyle, but impacts the environment?
Harm you.
Okay. I guess we just disagree about harming
your life expectancy, reducing your risk of chronic disease, reducing your environmental footprint.
First of all, you can hold on without kishkelling anything. So you can reduce your risk of chronic disease and increase your diet all without eliminating animal products. Like significantly curbing your consumption of like red meats alone will probably get you halfway there, and then significantly curbing your consumption of dairy will probably get you like another quarter of the way there. You don't need to be on a complete plant-based diet to maximize your health. You just need to significantly reduce your intake of animal products.
No, you actually do. Being on 100%.
How much do you want to bet right now? Do you think?
Check out the Oxford Vegetarian.
I don't need to check it out because I've already read all these shitty vegan arguments before. Like if you compare any plant-based diet, if you compare a plant-based diet to the average American diet, where we massively overconsume meat. Okay, well then I just don't give a fuck that much. Then I would rather live to be 70 than live to be 80.
Okay, so when I can actually prove what you're saying is wrong, you don't give a fuck anymore?
I don't. I think that if you make a significant improvement to your diet, I don't think that means you have to cut all animal-based products out of it. I don't think you're right on that. If you want to like me something on that, I'd be interested. Like against like a healthy diet that incorporates like a variety of what?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Oxford vegetarian cohort, I think the cohort's been going on for almost 2 decades now. They compare basically healthy meat eaters. So there's 4 different food or diet categories. There's meat eaters, infrequent meat eaters, pescatarians, vegetarians, and vegans. Only the vegetarians and vegans had a statistically significant reduced risk of all-cause mortality, and they also
can you give me some numbers when you say significantly reduced risk? What does that mean?
Okay, let me actually find this for you. I'll look up the confidence interval here.
I don't need the confidence interval. I just want some numbers related to like, are we talking about people that live to like 83 versus people that live to like 81? Because I'll probably lose 2 years of my life at the worst end of my life, being very fucking old, to eat meat my entire life.
Let me just check here. So the study's called Mortality in Vegetarians and Comparable Non-Vegetarians in the United Kingdom. So yeah, this cohort's been going on for almost 2 decades, and if you scroll down,
can you shoot it to me?
Yeah, sure. I'll send you a link. So I'll just drop it in the chat here. So if you scroll down to page 25.
Wait, where is the chat? What is the chat?
Oh, I'm just in. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. I think it's in general that I dropped it in.
Like general.
Yeah, general,
voice?
my dude.
General,
Yeah,
my dude.
Okay, I'll drop it in there.
Gotcha.
General, my dude. Okay, and if you scroll down to page 25, so the second paragraph on the right, they basically give you the confidence intervals. So this is deaths before age 90. So the HR for vegans was 0.92, confidence interval between 0.84, 0.99. The point estimate was 0.92. So that was the only diet group that was at a statistically significant reduced risk of all-cause mortality before the age of 90. So basically, based on the point estimate, you have an 8% lower risk of dying before 90 of all causes. Now, I know some people will argue that's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not. You're not selling me hard on that. And these are going to be like, you're giving me, I know, like the best cherry pick stats you can find is like an 8% reduced risk of mortality. Like,
okay, well, listen, 8% reduced risk of all-cause mortality is pretty significant. If we're talking about cause-specific mortality, depending on what it is, you might be able to argue that it's not that significant. Like if you're talking about something like pancreatic cancer, that's not a huge reduced risk, but dying of all causes, 8%, like almost 10%, that's pretty big. That's relatively significant.
Yeah, it's like relatively, yeah, like it's definitely something to think. Like I'll try to, you know what? I'll try to hit like the gym an extra day of the week to compensate for the risk then.
Okay, well, I don't know if that would really be enough for you because this is a what do you call it? Multivariate analysis. So they factor in things like smoking, physical activity, things like that. They
wait.
Make sure it's an apples to apples comparison.
Hold on 1 second. Fuck. Okay, I'm sorry. Wait, I don't have time to go through this entire thing.
Well, you don't. Like, I'm just.
Wait, I'm just real quick because I'm just reading these results here. So there were 5,294 deaths before the age of 90 and over 1 million Y of follow-up. There was no significant difference in overall all-cause mortality between the diet groups. HRs and low meat eaters, fish eaters, and vegetarians compared with regular meat eaters.
Well, read the confidence intervals. It's like they say there was no difference, but if you read the confidence intervals, there was. I don't know why they wrote it that way.
95% confidence interval, 95% confidence interval, 95% confidence interval.
No. You're look at this is a 95% confidence interval, but look at the confidence interval themselves. Only the vegan group, it doesn't cross the null, which is 1. So confidence interval of 0.84 to 0.99. If it crosses the null, which is 1, then it wouldn't be statistically significant. We got
to move on to another argument. You're like, I know for a fact that because your life is vegan debates, if this is the best you have for me, then your argument sucks shit. Because I guarantee you that like there's going to be a million other things out there that probably argue against this, and like this is not very compelling. I'm sorry,
dude. You just made the argument that you can optimize your health without eating entirely plant-based, and I just gave you pretty compelling.
To be clear, first of all, this is not very compelling. In fact, this is like strong evidence against that. I might use this in anti-vegan debates in the future. Thank you. And secondly, I didn't say that you could completely negate it. I said that the majority of like the horrible health impacts from the current diet probably aren't due to the fact that we eat any animal products at all. It's probably due to the fact that the diet is incredibly unhealthy, period, whether we were eating animal products or not. Like, we could modify our diet greatly to be a lot healthier, but that doesn't mean eliminating all animal products from the diet. That's a really silly and arbitrary way of limiting the food intake.
Data disagrees with you.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me why only the vegan and vegetarian group had a statistically significant reduced risk of all-cause mortality.
Okay, which page is that? Do I need to see this?
Well, I just told you it's page 225, and you read it out just now. Page 225.
No, I was literally reading the results from page 1.
Oh no. Okay, so it's page 225, and it's the second paragraph on the right, and it's underneath the table 2.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, reading the second paragraph. With 2 exceptions, there was no significant heterogeneity of risks between men and women, between never, former, and current smokers, or between low weight, normal weight, and overweight participants for any of the 6 most common causes of death.
Okay, no, you're not reading the right thing.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm on page 225.
225. It's underneath table 2, so it's not the actual table. It's the rest of that page. So it's the second paragraph on the right. So it starts off when we exclude data for participants known to have changed diet group at least once during follow-up.
Okay, so sure. So when we excluded data for participants known to have changed diet group at least once during the follow-up, leaving data for 4,270 deaths before age 90, there was no significant difference in risk between diet groups for all causes of death combined as follows.
Right, and then if you actually read the confidence intervals...
Okay, I have a feeling you probably don't understand the stats here. Or are you telling me that... So they just wrote it incorrectly then in this paragraph?
No, they wrote it correctly. It's just that sentence, there was no significant difference in risk between diet groups. That sentence is inaccurate because there was actually...
I'm sorry, dog. I'm gonna go with the researchers writing here over your interpretation of what the numbers mean. I'm sorry.
Are you telling me? Are you telling me a confidence interval between 0.84 and 0.099 is not statistically significant?
What does that mean? What does a confidence interval of 0.84 to 0.99 mean?
Okay, so confidence interval, it's a statistical tool that gives you a good guess between where an outcome will lie. So if you have a confidence interval that does not cross the null being 1, then that would be statistically significant, and with a 95% confidence, you can say an outcome will fall somewhere between these 2 points.
Okay,
so
and your points for all of these, and look at the different confidence intervals you're given. So you've got 0.85 to 1.02.
Right.
You've got 0.81 to 1.02. You've got 0.84 to 0.99. Like, these are all almost identical.
Statistically significant. No. The one is statistically significant. The one isn't.
Do you want me to bring a stats person here to argue with you, or?
Okay, sure. If you want. That is by definition statistically significant.
I don't understand how. Okay, hold on. Now I'm curious because now I want to know how the vegan brain works. So you're confident in and to be 100% honest, I'm a fucking music school dropout, okay? I don't do numbers and all that shit, okay? It's confusing to me, okay? You're confident that your interpretation of these numbers is more accurate than the actual publishers, the researchers of this paper.
Okay, dude, it doesn't matter what they say in the fucking sentence. What matters is the actual fucking data, the numbers. They could write a song about fucking Christmas. Doesn't matter what the fuck they say. The numbers... The actual results are what matter.
Okay,
so
do you have is there like a graph of these numbers anywhere so that we can see because you're literally, this is like alt-writer logic right now. This is I read the paper on how brains and human IQ works, and even though the researchers disagree with me, I saw the number
What are you talking about? We're talking about the results of the study.
No,
so
no, no,
what
we're
the
not.
hell
No,
does it
there's a
matter what the
reason.
author said in the sentence leading up to what the results reported are.
So there's a reason why laymen like us tend to stick to the abstracts. Like, these are published researchers working with a
not reading out the
2-decade-old cohort. No, you're not, but that's the problem. Is you're reading a
The longer
sentence
the
and you don't like the
cohort,
sentence.
better
And
the data. What do you mean 2-decade-old?
Exactly. What I'm saying is that the researchers that are working on these papers probably know what they're talking about. So if they're going to tell me that there's not a statistical...
Destiny, it doesn't fucking matter what the hell they said leading up to the actual numbers we're talking about. What matters is the actual numbers.
Okay.
So
you're
because
because
it matter what the sentence says?
Because you're probably reading the numbers wrong.
How am I reading the numbers wrong? So do I not know what 0.099 is? Like, what are you talking about?
So not only was their sentence incorrect here, their sentence and the results were incorrect as well. You've managed to go through this study and you've divined the truth, like that stands in contrast to the results the researchers themselves give in the results paragraph of their page.
Okay, Destiny.
Wait, can you just answer that yes or no instead of talking around that? Like, can you?
No, I'm not talking around it.
You're
Destiny,
talking around
I don't
it.
care about the results of the paper. I don't care what the fucking researchers said about their findings.
Well, okay, I do. So that's just the difference. I'm a layman when it comes to this stuff.
So you're gonna ignore. Okay, so you're just gonna flat out ignore the actual numbers, the actual results of the paper, and you're just gonna focus on what they said because that supports your viewpoint.
No,
okay,
I'm gonna go with
the other way around. Okay,
Uh-huh.
cool. What if this was the other way around? The numbers show that the vegan group actually died sooner. They had a higher increased risk of mortality, but the researchers said the opposite. Oh, look, the vegans lived longer. Would you care more about what the researcher said, even though the numbers and the data actually contradict their claims?
I'm not looking at the numbers themselves because I don't have a background in stats.
Okay,
I know how to
cool.
interpret it.
Okay.
But I would read
Cool.
what the results say. That's what I would read.
Okay, so Destiny, you're saying if the actual numbers that they reported showed that vegans had an increased risk of all-cause mortality, but the researcher said they had a decreased risk of all-cause mortality, then you're saying you'd still rely on what the researchers say rather than the actual data?
Because I'm a layman. I can't interpret. I know you don't understand how any of this works. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say to you.
No, I do.
So
No,
I'm
I do.
reading
Okay,
the conclusion of your paper that you linked me. This was your killer paper for me, and I assume you probably bring this out in every debate you have. Is United Kingdom-based vegetarians and comparable non-vegetarians have similar all-cause mortality. Differences found for specific causes of death merit further investigation. You're telling me that the researchers are all just fucking retarded. They don't know their own paper. They don't know their own data, even though they've worked with these data sets for 2 decades and they're in charge of publishing it. They're wrong and you're right.
That's one way of putting it.
Okay, that's all I needed to hear. All right, what's your next argument then?
Okay, dude. So you're actually admitting that you have no argument against the actual results, and you're just basically going off of what somebody said in the paper.
My guess, if I could find a guy that knew stats, my guess is you probably just don't know how to read the confidence intervals.
No, this isn't okay, dude. This isn't particularly difficult. Very basic way to read a confidence interval is if the confidence interval doesn't cross 1. So if all the numbers are above 1, or if all the numbers are below 1, then that's a statistically significant finding. Okay, so since the confidence interval is 0.84 to 0.99, that's statistically significant. That's the only group that had a statistically significant reduced risk of all-cause mortality. It's very simple.
If it's so simple, then why did the researchers mess all of this up?
Okay, well, they might not have messed it up. Maybe they have some sort of weird bias, and they didn't want to report that, I don't know, vegans and vegetarians had a lower risk of all-cause mortality. It does happen that researchers working on these studies have some sort of weird bias.
Why would they be?
There was a Metarex. Okay, well, listen. There was a Metarex study that was published recently. The researchers clearly had a bias. They basically said because people just enjoy eating red meat, people should eat it. Like that was literally one of the things that was stated in the Metarex study.
Like this is literally an Oxford published study. This is an Oxford published study looking at this.
What does that matter? Okay, so
it seems like I feel like the people would know basic stats.
Okay, dude, you're telling me researchers can't have bias? They couldn't have made some sort of mistake here? They couldn't have made any kind of error with how they reported on this? Like, I'm going to go by the numbers, not what they said. Okay, so Destiny, you don't have an argument here. I think you're just going to have to accept that, yeah, the vegans and vegetarians in this paper, they were the only group that had a statistically significant reduced risk of all-cause mortality. Simple as that. It was at about, the point estimate is about 8%.
Why would I trust any, if these guys don't even know how to do basic stats, why would I trust...
Okay, wait, you're saying I don't know how to do basic
No,
stats.
no, I'm saying, well, no, you clearly, you clearly know how to do stats, but these guys clearly have no fucking idea, so why would I trust any of their study?
Okay, Destiny, this sort of thing happens all the time, okay? Researchers, authors can make mistakes.
And it got past peer review and everything. This is an actual published thing that's been followed for decades.
So, yeah, Destiny, there are plenty of mistakes that are published in research all the time.
Hold on,
I don't know what the hell that has to do.
Sure. This isn't just like
So Destiny, notice how this isn't about you proving that these numbers don't mean anything. This is about you saying we should listen to the researchers who wrote this. So basically, you're just making an appeal to authority.
First of all, an appeal to authority is not a logical fallacy. A fallacious appeal to authority would be a logical fallacy. I am going to appeal to the authors of the study about the content of said study. I don't believe it's fallacious to do that, especially when every author that worked on this study is going to be more qualified than you or me to do basic statistic interpretation. The fact that this is not only peer-reviewed and published, the fact that the very results in both the abstract and results section disagree with your conclusion makes me highly suspect that your interpretation is probably a little bit biased.
Okay, so you can't actually explain why I'm wrong. You're just basically saying, well, they're researchers, so they know more than you. That's not really a valid argument in my eyes. And Destiny, this sort of thing happens all the time. There's a recent study on bone fracture risk. They totally fucked up basically their analysis rather than using. So what they did was they stratified for BMI and.
I don't care about it. You're like, this isn't just like a random error. You literally are like, you are literally telling me that the conclusion of this entire study is wrong because they can't do a basic stat check. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah. Okay, they might have done a stat check. It's just that their interpretation of it was wrong, or they dishonestly reported on it, or they were being, I don't know, maybe precautious.
Wait, who is the publisher of this study? Paul Abley is the first name on this paper.
Okay.
This guy is literally a fucking vegan.
Okay. Okay, Destiny, what the hell does this have to do with the actual numbers? You're not actually giving me an argument for why my interpretation of these results is wrong. You're basically saying, oh, okay, they wrote it down that way, so you're wrong.
You are the debate, bro. The people say that I am. How do I get rid of people like you? Why do you do this? Can't listen.
Okay,
wait. I'm not even. We're not having a debate. I just want to have a human to human.
Yeah. Explain why my interpretation of these results is wrong. Don't just say, oh,
well,
they wrote
I don't
it
know
down
how
that
to
way.
read. I don't really know much about stats. I never took stats. Was for
Okay,
losers
cool.
in school that wanted an
So
easy
then you don't have
GPA.
an
Okay, I took
So,
calc.
okay, Destiny, since you don't have an argument, I think you're just going to have to accept for now that, guess what? In the study, they found that vegans and vegetarians had an 8% reduced risk of all-cause mortality compared to the other diet groups.
Can you show me the tables in this study that like analyze the different mortality rates among these diseases? I'm curious. Is it like listed anywhere in here?
Yeah, it's down lower. So if you just scroll down to table 3, number of deaths before age 90 and HRs for 95% confidence intervals, you can scroll down. It goes through all the cause-specific causes. So it goes from, let's see, malignant cancer, and it has cancer-specific sites, disease of the nervous system, circulatory disease, ischemic heart disease. You can just go through everything.
Okay, and how do I see like the percentage of the total groups? Does it list that in here or no?
What do you mean percentage of total?
So like I
groups?
see like 686 regular meat eaters died of malignant cancer. Can I find out the percentage of the original sample size of that or no?
Well, okay, so it
like have you gone through and actually looked at the percentages here to see if it does support your conclusion?
What do you mean percentages?
Well, so what you're
people. Wait. So this is the number of people in the cohort that they're looking, and I think this is after taking out people. This is excluding participants known to have changed diet groups at least once during follow-up. So this isn't the entire cohort. This is just after they excluded participants. So this is 686 meat eaters, after they excluded for participants known to have changed diet groups. And these are the HRs for, malignant cancer of colorectum, pancreas.
No, I understand that. I'm just trying to see these numbers listed as a percentage.
What do you mean as a percentage?
Like, I'm curious, as a percentage of the total participants, what did like a higher percentage of regular meat eaters die versus fish eaters? That's what I'm looking for, to see if it because that should be the case then if your stats are correct.
Wait, what? I'm not following.
Let's say that there were 1,000 meat eaters and 1,000 vegans, okay? And let's say they tracked the deaths. Let's say that they found 500 meat eaters died of cancer and only 400 vegetarians died of cancer. It seems like meat eaters are more likely to die of cancer than vegetarians or something.
Well, the HR. Okay, so the HRs would tell you that.
What does HR mean again? Isn't that hazard ratio or something?
Yeah.
Okay, HR is 1.0 on all of or.
No. The HR is 1.0 for regular meat eaters. So that's basically the null that they're looking at. So that's like what's another word for it? That's basically the control group, essentially, that they're comparing everything to. And then low meat eaters, the point estimate was 0.93. So that's without factoring in BMI. But again, the confidence interval isn't statistically significant. It goes from 0.81 to 1.07. And for fish eaters, it's actually significantly lower. It's 0.76. Confidence interval significant, 0.63 to 0.91. And then for vegans, vegetarians, it's 0.82, confidence interval 0.72 to 0.94.
Wait, don't those confidence intervals not matter because they don't go to 1.0 or whatever?
No, that means they're statistically significant, so they're below the null. So that means...
Okay, so then how do you explain in the next one, where we look at colorectum or whatever, where it looks like vegetarians and vegans are at 1.05, and that's over regular meat eaters. And that confidence interval is 0.72 to 1.53. So that should be ultra confident, right?
No. So again, that's not statistically significant because so basically when you're looking at a confidence interval, if it goes from 0.72 to 0.153, that means the actual outcome could be either below the null or over the null. So it's not statistically significant. The point estimate is 0.015, but really the outcome could be anything between 0.72 and 0.153. So it could be, protective. Like vegans could be at a lower risk of cancer of the colorectum, or
they could be at a much higher risk. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, it's not statistically significant.
Okay. So if we look down at lung cancer, what about this, where it's
lung
0.92 compared to 1.06? Low meat eaters are at 0.92, and
yeah. So again, if you look at the confidence interval, they all cross the null, so it's not statistically significant.
Wait. Hold on. I'm sorry. Explain this to me. So low meat eaters is 0.92, and then the range is 0.63 to 1.33. And for vegetarians and vegans, it's 1.06, with the range being 0.73 to 1.55.
Yeah. So the point estimate is higher, but it's the confidence interval still crosses 1. So it's not statistically significant. That's just the point estimate.
I feel like this is not how these... I feel like that's not how stats works, but honest to God,
No, it is.
All right, hold on.
It's pretty simple.
Stats speaker, Sejin.
All right, this is so dumb. All right, go to table 3, you're at the bottom, right?
Hold on. Table 3, bottom of table 3, yes.
Yes, all causes, right?
Wait, all other... Wait, am I looking at all... all
Not
causes.
all other... Below that, all causes.
Yes.
So our fucking standard regular eat meters 1.0. That's our baseline, right?
Yeah, baseline is 1.0. Yes.
So now we're given 95% confidence intervals, right?
Yes.
But this isn't. These numbers aren't they're giving us the range, right? It doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. So it's saying that a low meat eater has a low end hazard ratio of 0.85 and up to 1.02, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just as likely that we can take the lower ranges of all of these, and fish eaters would be better off than vegans and vegetarians.
Okay. Or we take
Like,
the high
none
end
of
where there's
what
not much
you-
difference at all.
What do you mean? It's okay. So claiming that it's just as likely is, I don't think that's. Yeah, that's not.
Oh, hold on. I understand. Wait. So, okay. When Sejin, he keeps saying crossing the null. That doesn't mean anything, right? It's just a range that's given.
No, it does.
What we're given here is a range.
Yes. So hold on. Tell me if I'm understanding this correctly, because I feel like
No,
okay, hold on. Wait. Sejin, I'm just asking.
It does matter if it crosses the null, because that means no. It does matter if it crosses the null because the outcome could be anywhere in that range. So
yeah, but all of these are listed.
These are hazard ratios. This isn't like a. This isn't. Fuck. What's the word, dude? Oh my god, it's been so long since I took stats, but I know this.
No, if it crosses the null, it could be at any point. It could be in any point in that confidence interval. So
yeah, but all of these are given.
When you're testing a null, you're doing that like this is way before. This is a different calculation you're talking about. What we're given here are ranges using the confidence interval of the hazard ratio.
Wait.
Yeah, I don't think you're getting it, dude. So look, if you're looking at the confidence interval, that means the outcome, the actual outcome you're looking for, it could be anywhere within that confidence interval. So if you have a confidence interval between 0.85 and 1.02, that means you could have an increased risk. So if it's between 0.85 and 1.02, you can't. That's the range. That's the range for the confidence interval. That's the range for the confidence interval. The hazard ratio
could be 5 to 1.02.
Yeah,
wait. You agree that that's a range for the hazard ratio, right?
Right, and if it's anywhere within, if it could be anywhere within that range, if you could say with 95% confidence, it could be between 0.85 and 1.02. That means it could be at an increased risk, or it could be at a lower risk.
Wait, hold on, wait. Wait. Can I just say this real quick? This is my understanding of this is literally all these numbers mean is there is a 95% chance that all-cause mortality for low meat eaters is between 0.85 and 1.02 of the null. Isn't that what that means? Or what am I wrong about there?
No, that's our hazard ratio. We're talking about that's strictly hazard ratio, right?
No, I understand that, but I'm saying that like if doesn't the confidence interval just mean that like there's a 95% chance that the actual like all-cause mortality for low meat eaters is probably what it lies between 0.85 and 1.02. Isn't that what that means?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct, but that wouldn't be considered statistically significant for determining increased or decreased risk.
No,
So
that's not true.
Yeah,
that's not true. So
yes, it would.
To determine something is statistically significant, you have to use a test statistic. This is not inherently a test statistic. You're literally just looking at like confidence. You're just looking at the variability of your data.
Thank you so much.
You're not. You're not looking at anything.
No. If you could say with 95% confidence an outcome could be within this range, like 0.85 to 1.02, then you can't say with confidence that you have an increased or reduced risk. If you are below, or if all your numbers are below or over the null, you can say with 95% confidence you are at a reduced risk or at an increased risk. So what the hell are you talking about?
That's not true. I think you're confounding confidence intervals in your and like test statistics. You can't say
confidence intervals can be used to determine statistical significance. Absolutely can.
Yeah, so when you do that, it's called a test statistic, which you're not given here.
What do you mean you're given the confidence interval?
You're just given a specific confidence interval. That's all. The only thing you can extract from this is the variability of your data. It's sort of like a measure of how...
No. And with that, you can determine statistical significance.
I'm pretty sure you're looking
that's
for
not true.
R value.
Yes, you can.
What you're trying to do is you're conflating this confidence interval with p-value shit.
If you actually use, you could do the same thing with p-value. If you use p-values here, it'd be below 0.05 if it's statistically significant.
Yeah, correct. I totally agree, but you're not giving p-values here.
Yeah, so you can use the confidence interval. It doesn't matter if you can just do this on your own. You can calculate p-values. If the confidence interval is below 1 for all the numbers, you're going to have a statistically significant p-value anyway.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
That's a good point, because all of these have numbers are below 1.
No. If you look at all causes, if you look at all causes, And if you look at the vegetarians and vegans, no. So all-cause mortality, so the point estimate's 0.92, and it goes from 0.84 to 0.99. That's below 1.
Wait, but so you're saying that if in that vegetarians and vegans, if it went from 0.84 to 1.00 instead of 0.99...
that wouldn't be statistically significant because it could be possible that the actual hazard ratio lies on 1, just that 0.92 happens to be the point estimate. So you can't say with 95% confidence... you can't say with enough confidence that you're at a reduced risk, so the hazard ratio is lower than basically the control group, regular meat eaters, then you can't say the findings are statistically significant.
That's not true.
Yeah, it is.
Wait, can you explain what like a p-value is? Can you? Do you know what a p-value is?
Not exactly. I'm not a statistics expert, but I know.
So wait, how are you arguing over statistics with a guy that's literally like a fucking vegan statistician? Or never mind. Sorry, I'm appealing to authority.
Daddy's favorite is a vegan
No. The publisher of this paper, Paul Appleby, is literally he has a fucking degree in mathematical statistics.
I don't again. I don't give a crap what was written in Destiny. I only care about the numbers.
Okay.
Well, he's agreeing with us and disagreeing with you. So shut the fuck up, dude. You gotta retake stats, man.
Stop, Sejin. You're bullying. No. You're out.
Wait, I have a question for you. So if I have a fourth group here, I guess, and we have some inherent variability. Let's say that the point estimate is at 0.5, and then the range is from 0.3 to 1.3.
Okay.
But let's say that like the average is around like 0.5.
Right, the point estimate.
Right. So let's say the point estimate is significantly below 1, but the upper end of our 95% confidence interval is above 1.
Yeah, so
what would you say about that?
So that would not be a statistically significant finding because you can't say with high degree of confidence that I guess if we use this case, the hazard ratio is below 1, like you're at a reduced risk of an outcome happening to you.
I don't think so. I don't know where you're getting this understanding from. That would most certainly be statistically significant if our baseline is 1 for some number of samples, right?
Okay, so if the outcome could be anywhere between
really fast, can you explain
0.3 and 1.3? How can you say that's a statistically significant finding? If you have
because your point estimate is
statistically significant, if the confidence interval is that wide, and it
right, exactly. Yeah. So if we have some sample, right? So let's look at the regular meat eaters. We're taking this as our control, right?
Okay.
So it looks like we have 1609 is our number of samples. Let's say on this we have some inherent variability in the HR value, right?
Okay.
So from there we have a standard deviation. And then how many standard deviations our point estimate is away from 1? That would be what's called a p-value. Or a t-value, or it's one of the test statistics, depends on what information you have. Right? Does that make sense? And then from a p-value, you can get statistical significance. But you can't just extract it given a 95% confidence interval. That's not how statistics works.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you're wrong. I'm not an expert on this, but pretty sure you're wrong.
All right, Ayas, you're in to give a different explanation. Okay. You're up.
Okay.
What?
So first of all, I'm not a statistician. I have a PhD. I mean, I don't have a PhD, but I'm on my last year of PhD in physiology.
Oh my god.
But I'll try to... Okay, hold on. I'll try to explain you guys. So you have Discord, right? Like, if you go... Can I send you like a link? Or
no, can you just explain the fucking paper?
So here's the deal. When they show you, they say the mean is 1. It doesn't mean it is only 1. Every stat is a bell curve, and that doesn't mean that every single person that they checked has actually the mean of 1, right? That has a bell curve, and some people fall in, for example, 0.76. Some people fall in, for example, 1.3. And if you pile them together, you have like a bell curve, and that bell curve has a mean of 1. and that is what that they are showing there. So if your confidence interval doesn't fall in 1, it doesn't mean that it is not overlapping with your control group at all. So for example, if that 1 is, as I just explained earlier, if it is consisting of confidence interval between like 0.7 and 1.3, whatever you're showing there on the graph, like 0.76 and 1.42, it still falls into that category or that population, right? So it doesn't mean, so it is overlapping with your control group, meaning that whatever you select from your experimental group has a plenty big chance of falling into the control group values, meaning that it can't be significant. So in order to actually test that, we do have a test called, we measure p-value, and p-value means that we have a different sort of like cutoffs for p-values, and we usually use 95%, meaning that 0.95 or 0.05 p-value. And if your p-value is lower than 0.05, we accept it as significant. And what it means is when you select, chances of whatever you select from your experimental group has 95% chance of not falling into your control group, meaning that not falling into that bell curve that I just described. So for example, if we talk about, let me just give you an example. So if you have a graph that is, again, confidence interval or a bell curve that is in between 0.7 and 1.3, and this is your control group, let's say, and you have an experimental group, right? An experimental group, let's say 1.4 to 1.7. Whatever you select in your experimental group is for sure not going to fall into that 0.7 to 1.3 bell curve, meaning that they are not overlapping at all, meaning that they should be statistically significantly different, right? Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to a doctor friend of mine about this who knows a fair bit about statistics, and I'll ask him about some of these things.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean,
I'll probably do a video about this later.
Yeah, you can do that. And plus, whatever we are looking at your Destiny stream, it is, when you look at the table at the very bottom, you see the hazard ratios, right? No, Destiny. Like,
yeah, table 3, I got it.
Same
I bet,
table.
yeah.
Go back to the same table, please.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So you see like 2 different groups. We don't really care about the middle 2 groups, right? We care about the meat eaters and vegetarians and vegans. And you see the hazard ratio. And hazard ratio means that if it's lower, meaning that whatever the ratio that you are looking for is has a less incidence of occurrence in that specific group. So for example, in this specific table, you are looking at death rates, right? So 0.92 to 1, meaning that it has a trend. It is not statistically significant, as I explained earlier. 0.92 means that it has a less hazard ratio, meaning that whatever we are looking at has a less incidence of occurrence, which is death rate, right? So vegetarians and vegans group has a less sort of occurrence of death in that group compared to the regular meat eaters. It's not statistically significant, but there's a trend. When you go to, for example, other categories, for example, if you look at, I don't really see much on this table, but if you look at the, if you go up or look at just like in the other categories, you see that this HR ratio is actually higher in vegans and vegetarians in some of the
yeah, so like for lung cancer, for instance, the hazard ratio appears to be higher, meaning there's a greater incidence of that particular thing compared to the regular meat eater group. Right? Exactly,
but when you look at it, you know, like just look at the confidence interval. It's like 0.73 to 1.55, meaning that it has such a high bell curve, and it definitely crosses with your. It's definitely going to cross your control group.
If something has a ratio of like 0.25 to like 1.01, does that mean it's just worthless because it crosses your null, or doesn't that still put that at the other end of that curve, or no?
Sorry, 1 point.
Like let's say that your hazard ratio, let's say that it's a given it says 0.75, but then like your ratio or whatever, or your difference is going to be like, I don't know if it works this way, or say it's like 0.6 or whatever, and your ratio is like 0.2 up to like 1.0. Does that mean that that's just worthless because it goes up to that 1.0 thing, or? Does that crossing the null thing, is that a real thing? He kept saying crossing the null. Does that actually matter?
I don't know what cross the null means.
So null is your mean.
Yeah, I understand that. But I'm saying if your range crosses the null, does that all of a sudden mean that that range is worse than, say, another range that doesn't cross the null? Like what I'm asking is 0.23 to 0.97, is that better than like 0.26 to 1.01? Is the first one better than the last one because the last one crossed the null?
No. The only difference between the two is the center. That you're only changing the center. One isn't.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So the idea that like the confidence interval that range crossing the null doesn't actually mean anything, right?
I don't know what the null is.
When he says the null, he means 1.0.
Test statistics for.
So here's the thing. Null is not actually a value, right? Null is, we have two hypotheses in science. We have null hypothesis and we have alternate hypothesis. And null hypothesis means that you are testing whether your experimental group is actually have sort of like a similar results to your control group. So meaning this is your null, meaning that you are actually proving that your experiment actually did not show any statistically significant results. So when he says it is different than null, it means that he is assuming that the mean is exactly at 1 and there's no bell curve going on. So it doesn't matter your whatever you just said, they are just arbitrary numbers. It doesn't matter. It's because what matters is you have two different groups, right? You also have control group. So depending on how your bell curve is defined in your control group, those two different groups that you just described might be significant, or they both might not be significant.
Okay, and then can you explain, just for my bad stats brain, why does this, like, so look at vegetarians and vegans at all-cause mortality is 0.92 compared to your control or whatever of 1.0. Why is that not statistically significant?
Sorry, say that again?
Why is the 0.92, even though that's like quite different from the 1.0, why is that not statistically significant?
It's because you have, statistically significant means that, as I said, we are using the p-value of 95%, means we are testing the hypothesis. If we are choosing a value from our experimental group, that value is going to be 95% going to be outside of your control group. And control group means not just one, but that bell curve. So can you just like...
Oh, shit, hold on, wait. I'm brain blasting right now. I'm sorry. Let me know wait, I just want to ask one question, because if you answer this correctly, then if you say this, then I understand everything, okay? Okay. So you're telling me that it is so I'm looking at these as numbers, okay? But these are all bell curves. The 1.0 is a bell curve and the 0.92 is a bell curve, right?
Yes.
You're telling me that the reason why the 0.92 bell curve is not statistically significant is because the range of 0.84 to 0.99 has a large overlap of the bell curve of the 1.0 of the normal one? Is that what you're saying? Or am I misunderstanding?
You did it.
Okay.
You did it.
I understand everything.
So
real quick, just to elaborate on what Vegan is saying. So he's saying that crossing the null makes it not significant because if you cross the null, there is a higher likelihood, although I think not a guarantee, but a higher likelihood that you're going to have more overlap between the bell curve of the main number and the bell curve of your tested figure. Is that what he's saying?
If what you just said is true, if you have like a normal distribution. So for example, if your bell curve is actually skewed to one side, it doesn't matter. Can I send you a link? Don't worry, it's not something
I think
appropriate.
In terms of what you just said, I understand that. So if you don't have a normal distribution, but your bell curve is heavily skewed to the left, then it's possible that you could have a range of 0.85 to 1.1, but it could still be statistically significant if it's heavily skewed to the left and you're not overlapping your null.
Exactly. So what I just sent you to on the chat, actually one of your viewers did this Cormactian in the Discord. So that if you just open that, it will just like visualize it pretty nicely. So shout out to him too.
Okay, and then then another thing too, The number 1.0 then also in this case, and the way that he's using it, doesn't actually mean much, because if it's a 0.99, there's probably also, assuming these are all normal distributions, a 0.99 is probably likely to have about as much overlap as a 1.0 or a 1.01 if it's all normal distributions, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, you know what? I'll look into a bit of this, and I will probably make a video.
Yeah, and also like this is like don't ever say such a things as okay they didn't even like did the stats properly or not. Like these people are like putting like a lot of effort or whatever into it, and they actually know what they are doing. Like it is really
Look, I've seen plenty of research where they fudge stats or report it incorrectly, so I don't go by just what the authors say. I'm gonna look at the numbers. But
okay. I'm a PhD student, and
great dude. I don't care what the authors say. I'll look at the numbers, but if you're saying I'm interpreting the numbers incorrectly, then I'll do some more research into stats, and I'll ask somebody who's an expert about this, and I'll probably make a video response and talk about this, whether or not you're right or wrong.
Okay, whatever you say. Sure.
Okay. All right, do you want to continue the veganism sort of...
Sure.
discussion?
Well, okay. I'm dragging these guys out. We're putting the stats conversation on hold. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so moving past the diet thing, yeah, I'd support legislation to ban meat eating and whatnot related to climate change reasons. I think that's a pretty good reason to do it. But me personally, I don't think I would, because my personal sacrifice wouldn't do anything, yeah.
You're saying it's too much of a personal sacrifice to you?
I'm saying that, yes, I wouldn't undertake a great personal sacrifice to make a negligent change in the environment.
Okay, and if a slave owner were to tell you, I'd support legislation to ban slavery, but I'm not going to make that personal sacrifice because it would massively impact me and my business, what would you say to them?
I think that there's a difference between causing a direct great harm to one individual versus a spread out harm across society. So, for instance, both of us are probably opposed to owning slaves. Both of us are probably opposed to forcing somebody in our backyard to create like a product or good for us, but both of us probably at one point in our lives would buy like Nike shoes or shorts made in a sweatshop over China. I think that when harms are spread out against population groups or massive quantities of things, yeah, that is a different thing.
Hold up there.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor. Okay, so it does happen in the supply chain sometimes where there is actually like literal slavery that goes on, where they're like forced children to make shoes and they won't even get paid. I'm against that.
Yeah, but you probably don't go through and ultra edit every single product you buy to make sure that all of it is
not like you literally can't know. Like even
you could with enough research. Yeah, you probably could.
No, you can't. It's not possible. So even companies like this happens to Walmart, where
if I wanted to buy ethically sourced stuff, I probably wouldn't start at Walmart.
Well, just listen to me. This happened to Walmart recently. Basically, they'll hire contractors to make, garments for them or shoes or something like that. And then what'll happen is some of these companies will get subcontractors to do the work for them. And then those subcontractors, without even notifying like Walmart, will like use child slavery. Like that does happen. So no, there are circumstances where even if you have inside knowledge with who these companies are getting their supplies from, it is oftentimes impossible for you to know where these products are coming from.
While that may or may not be the case, you could still make an effort. And whether you may or may not make the effort, all I'm pointing to is that I think there's a difference between committing like a general harm with a group of people across another group of people versus like a personal targeted harm. I think that it's different buying a shirt sold at a store that sources their stuff from another country that may or may not employ slave labor versus forcing a slave in your house to make clothing for you. Do you recognize a difference there, or do you think those two are the exact same thing?
Okay, wait. So the difference.
Wait. Hold on, real quick, because I notice you never answer a question I give, and you're going to talk around it and ask me a question. So wait. So my very clear, because you just made me answer a question about fucking slavery. So my very clear, very targeted question is there a moral difference between going to a store and buying a product that at some point along its supply chain was made using slave labor versus locking somebody in your house and forcing them to create clothing for you? Is there a moral distinction between those two events?
Okay, if you have...
Oh my god, fuck. Sorry.
Okay, I'm answering your fucking question. If you have knowledge that, yeah, the product you're buying was actually made with real slave labor, then I wouldn't really make a moral distinction there.
Okay, we just totally disagree on that then. And then we should probably either argue about that point or...
So Destiny, so you're telling me that if you were to I don't know, buy a shirt from a friend of yours who owns a slave and his slave made a t-shirt, you're saying there's a moral distinction there between you personally owning a slave and forcing him to make you a shirt.
No, I think that at that point, it's like a one-to-one thing. Like, you can literally see the slave. But you're telling me that it's the exact same thing to be a white slave owner in the 1800s with a plantation of 100 slaves working the field as it is today for me to go to Walmart and buy a shirt that may or may not have been made by a slave overseas.
Oh, okay, well, dude...
Wait, do you recognize the distinction or not? Don't weasel on it. Own your answer, okay? Because you make me own a lot of uncomfortable answers. So I want you to own the answer to this question here.
There's a huge fucking difference there because you don't know if there was actually slave labor used to produce those goods.
So the ignorance is an excuse here? Is that you know that if you're buying, if you go to fucking Walmart or Target, if you go to Walmart or Target and you buy a shirt for fucking $4.99, it's probably made with slave labor at some point. Or if you buy a banana for 2 cents.
No, like, look, you there's a higher likelihood of something like worker exploitation, possibly, but no, as far as slave labor, no.
Okay, let's say, so we've went from it is impossible to buy a shirt knowing that it's not sourced from slave labor, all the way now to, well, hey, you could buy all of your clothes and maybe they were never made by slaves. That's an interesting point, but okay. Let's say that you knew for a fact that clothing in a store, at some point along the supply chain, that clothing was made by a slave. You're telling me that if a family goes to Walmart and they buy clothes to their kid, knowing that some kid overseas had to make it in shit conditions, shit labor, all of that person is the same moral culpability as a slave-owning plantation owner in the 1700s, 1800s.
It sounds like you're trying to conflate things.
You won't answer the question. No, this is bullshit. Hold on, because you did this to me. Let me be clear. Wait, let me be clear what happened.
Because in other countries, children can work at a younger age or something. That doesn't necessarily mean it's slavery.
You're a coward, dude. You're so fucking scared. This is bullshit. In our last debate, you made me answer a question.
The definition of slavery.
In our last debate, you made me answer a hypothetical question. In our last debate,
so we can
no. In our last, I don't have to. You're weaseling hard.
Define slavery so we can settle this.
No. In our last debate, you made me answer a question about a hypothetical human island of people that aren't capable of returning values to each other and whether or not you could kill those people. An impossible human group. And I answered that question honestly for you. And now when I ask you a pretty basic, pretty easy question, you refuse to answer. You're dancing so fucking hard around it because you realize that you don't have any moral conviction around it. That's bullshit, dude.
I'm not refusing to answer any question. I just have an issue with the question you're answering because you're not being clear. Define slavery.
Okay, in this case, slavery is when you have somebody forced to do work or labor that is unenjoyable, that have no other alternative recourse in life. So somebody,
So if you're going to use that definition and we assume the child was forced to do it, then yeah, I'd say.
You would say that a family that goes to Walmart and buys clothing from the store that knows that, there's a high chance that a child made it, they have the same level of moral culpability.
Again, you're trying to muddy the waters here.
I'm not muddying the waters. I'm trying to figure out what your position is.
So yeah, if you go to Walmart and you buy a shirt and you know that it was made from child slave labor, yes, I would say you're just as morally culpable of as a plantation.
Okay, thank you. I disagree with that. So we can argue on that point if you want, but I don't think anybody in your audience, very few people would agree that a family that goes to Walmart and buys a t-shirt has the same level of moral responsibility as a guy that literally buys, sells, and works slaves in fields.
Muddying the waters.
No.
We already established ignorance is a factor here. So
no, we're not talking about ignorance.
No, we already talked about this. If you know that you're buying from slave labor, actual slave labor as you defined it, then yeah, I'd say you're morally culpable. But then when you're explaining it, if a family goes and buys a t-shirt from Walmart, you're saying they're plantation owners? You're just being dishonest.
I'm not being... The reason why I'm bringing up this example is because you're trying to compare me eating food, which is a ultra generalized harm, because I'm not individually killing an animal. I'm not individually talking to a guy that's killing an animal. I'm buying something that's mass produced from a company that's shipping this from around the fucking world. You're comparing that to me having a slave in my next room. 99% of humanity would recognize the distinction between owning a fucking slave versus going to a corporation and buying a shirt that at some point in the production line might involve some slave labor. Every fucking person in the universe would say yeah, both of those are probably bad, but they're definitely two very different things.
Okay, when did I make the connection between eating meat and slavery?
when you asked me, because that's fine, I can catch you up. So you asked me, because I gave the answer that I'm not going to cause a great personal harm to myself, which is changing all of my dietary stuff. I'm not going to make that change if I know that there's not really going to be a net gain in society as a result. And then you said, oh, well, in that case, getting rid of a slave in your life would be like greatly negative to you. Like, would you say that you would keep a slave then? You made that comparison. And now what I'm attacking is that I don't think it's an analogous comparison, because owning a slave is a one-to-one individual direct harm on another person, but participating in like buying clothes made by slaves at some point of the supply chain, that's a much more generalized harm that's harder to completely and totally pin the blame on one individual for.
Harm. So what's the death count at now? 1.5 million people die from COVID. That's just a very general, harm that you don't think anybody would really benefit from if people stopped eating fucking bats and pangolins and shit.
No, I definitely think that's a thing that we could. I don't understand. What are you arguing here?
Okay, look, so I just gave you an example of direct harm being committed against human beings.
Wait, no. When I say direct harm, I'm talking about a one-to-one. I go to the next room and I kill or enslave somebody. When I say direct, that's what I'm saying, a one-to-one.
Oh, okay. So in order for something to be one-to-one, you buying meat would have to directly harm a person in some way?
I'm saying that to make your slave example analogous, I would have to be like literally polluting and destroying like one very specific area. So like to make your slave owning example analogous, I would have to walk into a room, slaughter a cow, pump all the greenhouse gases into like one person's house, fuck up their standard of living and everything. That would make that more analogous.
I can give you a great example of that.
Go for it.
There's a lot of poor black communities where they live around these, I think it's like a lot of these factory farms. So I think pigs especially, this is true of. They have these cesspits where they like pump out all this pig shit and piss into these pools, and in order to get rid of that pig piss and shit, they literally spray it into the air.
Mm-hmm.
And then it eventually, like that pig piss and shit, it eventually basically rains down on these poor black communities. It gives them a high risk of cancer, respiratory disease. It's just disgusting. It smells like shit, and they can't stay outside. That's an example of direct harm being committed against human beings.
Yeah.
Slaughterhouse workers, the people who have to, do all the shit.
I don't know why. I understand like the desire to like keep loading more and more here, but like if you want to treat me like an intelligent human being, I know that you like preaching in your YouTube videos, but you can just say that like, hey, here's an activity that has a lot of negative environmental consequences. We both know what that means. I don't know why you have to go into every single like.
Yeah, well, dude, I'm just giving you an example. You can cut me off anytime you want.
Okay, yeah, just say that there exists some pig farm, and the way that they get rid of the shit or clean it up causes like great harm to communities. Like that's called pollution. Yeah.
Okay, sure. That's an example. A lot of these flu outbreaks. Again, it's zoonotic disease. It's tracked. You can track it down to animal agriculture. So these chickens are the ones.
Yeah.
Spreading.
So these are all great reasons why we should probably crack down on animal agriculture. These aren't good reasons to make one individual stop eating meat.
Well, you're talking about direct harm being committed against human beings, like millions of deaths.
When I use the word direct here, what I'm saying is that one person bringing a harm unto one other person, and as opposed to one person engaging in an activity that generalizes harm to a whole population.
Decided to fucking get a bat, bring it to the Wuhan fucking market, and put it next to a fucking pangolin. They didn't just harm one person, did they? That was like more 1 to 1.4 million. Okay, so
yeah, so that one person would be morally culpable for that, for sure.
1 to 1.4 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's worse than 1 to 1. 1 to 1.4 million, Destiny.
Okay. You're laughing, but you're actually like, I don't know if your brain is rotting, or let me see if I can explain this one more time, okay? Because we're not.
You literally said you're not going to go vegan personally because you buying meat doesn't cause 1-to-1 harm to another human being. Well, somebody doing that caused 1 to 1.4 million harm. So.
I don't know why. I don't know what to say to you right now.
Yeah,
Like when I say direct harm, I can't explain this the same way. Okay, let's say that you have one person, okay, and let's say that person pulls out a gun and shoots one other person. That's a direct harm, okay. Now let's say that there is 1,000 people, and all these 1,000 people engage in an activity that might harm one other person. I would say that that's like an indirect harm. You're not doing it directly on a one-to-one level. That's what I'm saying. Because the problem is that, hold on. For one person, if one person is going to kill one person, that direct harm, I can say, hey, you one person, stop doing that, and that one person won't die. So that direct harm that they would bring upon that one person, if they just don't do that, they'd be fine. But for the 1,000 people...
You're not talking about direct harm, dude. You're talking about intent. Two different things. You are very clearly talking about intent.
I'm not talking...
You can go on. You can finish your thought.
I'm not talking about intent. What I'm saying is that if 1,000 people are doing a thing that's going to bring harm on one person, it's hard to argue for any of those individual 1,000 people to stop doing their thing because the other 999 are going to ensure that the harm is still done to that one person. So why would you remove one person from that group at great cost to themselves when the harm is still going to be done?
I'm not following this, dude. I just gave you an example of somebody eating
Okay,
meat.
let's go with your same example. Coronavirus, right? COVID-19. That was your example, right? The coronavirus?
Sure.
Let's say that me and 10 other friends, I got 10 people to go vegan. Would that have stopped the coronavirus?
No, but...
Then there you go. There's your whole argument defeated with your own example then. What's your next example?
No, dude.
Now, if we're going to do one-dimensional arguments, then that's your entire argument is defeated with your one example. What is your next argument?
No, dude. We still have to sort this out.
There's nothing to sort out. You brought up the coronavirus as like a direct harm, blah, blah, blah. And I'm asking you, if me and 10 other friends went vegan, would it have stopped the coronavirus? The answer is no. So it clearly doesn't matter because that was your example.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I wasn't friends with fucking dude who decided to eat a bat and bring it to fucking Wuhan and shit, okay? So... Look, you were asking me to provide an example of one-to-one harm to human beings from eating meat. I gave an example of 1 to 1.4 fucking million harm, and that's not even including morbidity. So
Yeah, and me not eating meat wouldn't have changed that. Me not eating meat wouldn't have changed that. So what's my incentive here?
Yeah, but guess what? The people at Wuhan who decided to fucking eat bats, it would have changed that.
So it sounds like you should go be debating those people. Make those people be vegan.
Okay, well, you know what? You support this industry too. You support industries that spread, viruses like the flu. A new flu virus could pop up because of what you're eating, and you could be responsible.
Well, actually, as an avid Soylent drinker on stream, I am actually a big supporter of non-meat eating breakfast.
Do you eat chicken? Do you eat pork ever?
Yeah, I do. I eat so much.
Yeah,
chicken.
those are animals that.
Wait, those are animals? Pork and chicken?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting educated. Go
ahead. Pig, chicken, pig. Those are animals that spread flu, dude. Novel flu viruses could pop up, and it's.
So here's my question: if I stop eating chicken, or if I stop eating pork, what are the chances that I prevent the next H1N1?
Okay, well, if we all end up not eating, we reduce our risk.
I agree. So if there's a law that makes it, or a social pressure, as we said earlier, if there was some legislation that was passed that said no more eating animals, yeah, I'd be all for that, 100%, sure.
Okay, so whether or not a law gets passed, that's what determines morality.
Wait, what? What? Who's talking about morality right now? We're talking about whether I'm talking about the outcome. I'm talking descriptively. What will happen if I stop a particular thing? And I'm asking you, if I stop eating chicken, is that going to prevent the next spread of like a flu or whatever? And the answer is obviously no, it's not. I'm not saying that makes it morally righteous or not. I'm just saying that like.
Okay, well, we were discussing what your moral values were. You were talking about maximizing the well-being of the human race, and apparently, according to you, it doesn't matter unless we pass it into law.
Yeah, because I don't think that you can compel a person to act at great personal cost to themselves if no one else is going to do it, and if that's not going to make a difference. I don't agree with that.
Well, dude, like, how are we going to make the sort of change if we don't create more people who are in support of that change?
Well, lab-grown meat is becoming a more popular thing, and hopefully the vegan substitutes get better and they don't taste like shit, and eventually you'll get there.
Well, they don't. Okay, what vegan substitutes have you tried, dude?
I've tried the Impossible Burger so far, and then I've tried the, there's one other one, I don't remember what it's called. Fuck, what's the name of that other Impossible Burger? Some people sell the Beyond Meat one. I've tried both of those. They're okay.
How is that not good enough for you?
Because it doesn't taste like real fucking beef. It tastes okay, but it's like...
So torturing like an animal and like supporting,
You're using morally loaded words. You haven't given me a reason to care about the well-being of animals.
Oh, no reason to care? Why should I care about your well-being?
Well, you don't have to, but if you try to do anything to me, you're probably going to get arrested for it. So you're
okay. Well, okay. So can you give me a moral reason why I should care about your well-being and not just a legal reason?
Not really. No. Why? Can you?
Not necessarily.
Then we're in the same page. So why are you trying to ask me a gotcha when we're in the same boat? What?
Okay, so you're basically just saying you just flat out don't give a fuck.
No, I'm saying that there isn't any like objective, solid, grounding moral argument that you can give me to be invested in the well-being of animals, other than throwing me like loaded terms like you want to torture fucking animals, blah blah blah. Like you don't actually have an argument. We're in the same boat there.
To be like I've watched you for quite a while. You seem to care a lot about other people.
Yeah, maximizing human well-being is one of my fundamental beliefs.
Okay, and why not maximizing animal well-being? Why is that not a
so when you're introducing like moral compulsions onto me, you have to give me a reason to do something. Why not to do something? Why not maximize the well-being of chairs or door frames? Why not maximize the well-being of red crayon? What?
Not sentient.
Why should I maximize the well-being of something just because it's sentient?
Well, you're sentient.
Okay.
They're sentient. I'd say they have enough similarities to you where you should have an interest in in ensuring they have.
Why not maximize the well-being of everything that contains carbon?
Okay, well, not everything that contains carbon is sentient.
Why are you choosing sentience over carbon?
Because they can't experience well-being.
Why do you care about an experience of well-being or negative well-being?
Sorry?
Why do you care if something can experience well-being or not? How do you even define well-being? Plants experience well-being.
No, they don't.
I'm sure that a plant that's growing and healthy is experiencing...
No, by definition, they can't experience well-being. So we could define well-being as subjective feeling of, I don't know, goodness.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess we can... Yeah, sure. So we can beg the question you want. If we arbitrarily define well-being as something that things with a sentient experience can have, then I guess in terms of that well-being, then only sentient things can experience that. But then why care about all the sentient things?
Are you saying the typical definition of well-being that you use, a chair could experience well-being?
I mean, it depends on how you define well-being. I don't know if you just mean like flourishing, like biologically or not.
Normally go by. Are you saying the definition you normally go by, a chair could experience well-being?
It depends on what type of like well-being we're talking about, what type of flourishing we're talking about.
Okay, the definition.
You can laugh, but you literally like walked into like a rake.
You're saying
you're walking into a door at every part of this debate.
A chair could experience well-being.
I guess it could.
Why are you even hanging on? It depends on what definition of well-being. I think you know what I mean.
Well, okay, define your well-being. Go ahead.
Okay, like I just said it. So, subjective experience of feeling good. Happiness.
How do you know that animals have a subjective experience of feeling good?
How do I know? Okay, so are you going to appeal to solipsism now?
Sure. How do you know other minds exist?
Okay, well, we're going to have to make some sort of fundamental assumptions.
And now... And the very reason why I didn't want to have this discussion has been brought forward because at the very beginning of this debate, I said I didn't want to talk about veganism because at the end of the day, you and I are going to have some fundamental assertion that we make with no fucking evidence. And your fundamental assertion is going to be something... I literally called this whole thing from the start.
Look, you have to make some assumptions. Like, we have to assume that, okay, we're not the only mind that exists. You do that too with... you're preaching about how you should vote for Biden and it's better for immigration and yada yada. So so what, you're saying you're stupid too because you're just assuming black people and Mexicans can experience fucking well-being and they're sentient?
No, I don't make any assumption. I don't make any assumptions about other minds. My fundamental axiom is that we should maximize human well-being. That's it.
Okay, well, how do you know humans can experience well-being and it's not just you?
I don't. But when I do human well-being, I'm included.
Like I am.
What?
Okay.
So I don't need to know if they can include well-being for it to be...
This is an argument when you have to do this. We have to make fundamental assumptions about our reality. We assume that, other creatures with a brain, nervous system, nociceptors, they're probably sentient. So
I don't disagree with you here. You're making my argument though. What I'm telling you and what I said at the very beginning of this debate, before you even came in, what I said, you can go back and clip it on a fucking Twitch clip or put it in your fucking straw man video where you shit all over me, is I said, I don't want to have this discussion because it's going to root back into some ontological argument or some meta-ethics argument where we're going to be trying to have a discussion about some fundamental axiom that we just take at face value and we're going to disagree on that and neither of us are going to have an argument to budge either person off their position because these are fundamental assumptions that are made outside of the bounds of human knowledge. Like, what are other minds, or are other minds worth protecting, or other sentient...
Okay, Destiny, we agree that other minds exist, correct? So I don't know why we'd have to argue with that.
Sure, but you're making an additional assumption that we ought to defend like other sentient minds outside of human ones, and you can't give me a compelling reason to do that.
Okay, well, do you believe animals are sentient?
I don't know that. I don't make any claim about that.
You
I have
don't
no
know
idea.
okay, so you don't think a cow with a brain, nervous system, nociceptors, similar overall body shape to you, like very similar body structures. You're saying you don't know if it's sentient or not?
No, I can't identify the part of the brain where sentience rises from. Can you confidently assert that they are?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't think a cow is sentient? Okay.
I don't know that. No. Do you know that? Damn, dude, you should start publishing papers in neuroscience. People would love to talk to you.
Okay, cool. So the fact that it has a cerebrum, a nervous system, it has this like very similar overall brain structure to us. Like it has the same basic components. You're still not sure if it's sentient?
No, I have no idea. No, I don't know. Do those things make a sentient being? Do you know that for a fact?
We have to assume that. If
we don't have to assume that at all. You're assuming that because you want to win an argument. No,
they have the same structures that we assume create sentience. Then yeah, I think we're gonna have to assume that's sentient.
You have no idea if that's true or not. None of us know where sentience arises from.
Cool. Do people with autism, do people with Down syndrome, are they sentient?
I guess we don't really know, huh?
Oh, okay. So we don't know. So is it okay to just round them up and Holocaust them because we don't know for sure, Destiny?
No, because I don't base my moral system on some arbitrary thing like sentience that I can't know or prove. I base it around maximizing human well-being.
So can you actually prove that other people are sentient?
Not really, but I don't worry about sentience. I just maximize human well-being. Yeah.
Okay, well, why the hell? Okay, how could a non-sentient being experience well-being?
I don't know if other beings experience well-being or not, but I don't care about that. That's not part of my moral system.
Okay, so no, you just said you care about human well-being.
Yeah.
Okay, so how can a non-sentient being experience well-being?
I don't know. I do things that I would imagine would cause me to experience well-being, or I listen to them tell me what helps them experience well-being.
Okay, well, you can't actually prove that they're sentient, Destiny. So what does that matter? What they tell you?
I guess it doesn't. Maybe they could all be lying to me. But at the end of the day, you're not getting me any closer to caring about animals than people, my dude. I'm sorry. Like, you're the one that's obsessing over this sentience well-being thing. Like, I only care about maximizing human experience. I'm what?
You're really struggling.
I'm not struggling at all. I'm ultra razor clear here. Can you give me one reason to care about the sentience of animals? You still haven't answered that question.
Dude, you've actually resorted to solipsism. I don't know if there other minds exist, and then
no, I don't need other minds to exist. You're the one that's making the assertion about caring about sentient beings' well-being.
You have to have other minds exist because you said you care about well-being. Well, why the hell would you care about well-being if something isn't sentient? How can something experience well-being without sentience? I don't know. I
don't know if other things need to be sentient to experience well-being. But all I care, okay, sure.
Well-being.
Then I, you know what? Then I can modify that answer, and I could just say I care about maximizing human experience instead of well-being. There you go. Now make me care about animals. Make me care about the sentience of animals.
Okay, so you care about maximizing human experience.
Listen,
so
you're not trying to take on my moral system. You're trying to give me yours. So I'm asking you to prove why I should care about animal sentience.
Dude, can you experience anything if you're not sentient?
I don't know. Why should I care about animal sentience?
Experience suggests that you can have a subjective experience. How could you have a subjective
experience? Well, that's not
experience
circular at all. Why should I care about animal sentience?
Okay, Destiny, you're not answering my question. So you've moved it to experience. So, okay, can a rock experience anything?
Oh, fuck. Maybe I should care about rocks.
Okay, so I think you realize now that you're caught. Why should you care about animal sentience?
So I'm not caught. I'm literally just asking you why you should care about animal sentience. That's all I'm asking about.
Okay, so we'll move on. I think we've exhausted the human sentience thing. Why should you care about animal sentience? I'd say for the same reason you should... Okay, wait. Why should you care about animal sentience?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I would say because they can experience pain.
Why is them experiencing pain or suffering reasons for you to care about them?
Because there's this thing called empathy. You care about other human beings.
So does morality come from empathy? If you're empathetic towards something, then you are... Okay, so then people that feel empathetic towards like... So then people that feel like empathetic towards like the destruction of property, like their cars, Do cars get like moral consideration now or something? Should they be treated as living
You don't
things?
have empathy for your car.
You really don't, dude. I don't know the last high school girl you met, but like people literally like fucking name their cars and shit, like in school. I shouldn't have said high school. That sounds weird. But I know that like when I was back in high school, everybody fucking names their fucking car.
Okay,
How are you
Jeff,
telling me
do you
people
know
don't
what
have fucking empathy for these?
means? Do you know what empathy means? It means being able to understand someone else's feelings. So you're telling me that somebody has empathy for their fucking car's feelings, dude?
Yeah, people literally fucking cry over possessions and shit. People feel empathy for fucking like stuffed animals and stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, dude. Okay, buddy. Crying over something.
Do you
and
think? Wait,
hearing
hold on.
the
Do you think you can
car-
think like a fucking cow? Wait, do you think you can think like a cow or a cat?
Yeah. I
Okay.
have enough in common with a cow or cat where I can understand if it's suffering, in pain, so on and so forth.
Okay.
I know when my cat's hungry. I know when it's bored. I know when it's hurting. So yeah, you can have empathy for a cat. You can understand that it's feeling pain. You can understand its emotions. You can't have empathy for a fucking car by definition, since it's understanding someone else's emotions. So why the hell would you use a term like empathy?
I don't think you can have empathy with like a cat or empathy with like a fish or empathy with a whale. But
Why?
maybe you have a greater imagination than me. Maybe
Well, why?
because you don't know what their experience is like. You have no fucking idea. I don't know why a cat would walk around a fucking neighborhood
Okay,
all day and eat its
so-
ass out.
Okay, so when a cat or a whale, whales are much more intelligent than a cat, but when they have a brain, nervous system, they have a cerebrum, they have similar body structures to you that create sentience.
Well,
And
you don't
these
know if they
also-
create sentience. You have no idea about that. but
Oh, okay. So we don't know if human beings are sentient either, right?
Well, I mean, like we can
are we really
can
back to
probably
that? So
assume
we
they
don't
are
know.
because human beings are literally copies of each other in terms of structure. But like mammals aren't one-to-one copies. Like we all have slightly different brains and everything. But
Okay, so if a human being had a slightly different brain, so somebody with Down syndrome, you'd say not sentient?
I mean, they still have like the basic
really
like
back to this?
chromosomal structure to create like the same parts of the brain that make them a human. But
They're slightly different. So how
well, something
can
could
you
be
sure they're not
something could
exact
be.
copies?
Well, I'm curious. If you were to scoop out half the brain of somebody, do you think that person would still have sentience?
Yeah, there are actually medical conditions
Mhm.
where people have to have half of their brains removed.
So if you were to scoop out the entire prefrontal cortex of somebody and the entire midbrain of somebody, do you think that person would still have sentience? You just keep the brainstem and those parts alive to keep them.
Oh, just the brainstem? No, then they wouldn't. There is actually a thing called, I think it's anencephaly, where a person's born without a brain, but they do have the brain stem, and I think maybe some parts of the brain in some circumstances, but they're not considered sentient. No.
How much brain exactly do you need to be sentient? I don't think either of us have the answer to that question.
I think the neocortex is what's needed for
Like,
sentience.
all I'm saying is that like sentience is an incredibly arbitrary line. To say that you know the experience of an animal is a little bit unbelievable to me. I don't think you can know the experience of like being a cat or a fish.
Or a Jew, or a black person, or a Mexican, or somebody with Down syndrome. Like their brains are slightly different.
Do you think the difference between a
my
human
brain is
being
slightly
do you think the difference between like a white person and a black person is the same as the difference between a white person and a fish?
Okay, no, it's a much more significant difference. But you're saying, how do you know if a different brain is sentient? How do you know if I'm sentient? How do you know if your girlfriend's sentient, dude? The brain's slightly different.
Okay.
Like, okay, Destiny, when they have similar structures
Mhm.
that we assume to create it does create sentience, and when they have similar behaviors, they respond to pain, they respond to pleasurable things
Mhm.
in a similar way that you do. Can we assume that maybe you understand how it's feeling?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't see how, going back to like the beginning of this, I don't see how like empathy is like the source of morality. What about like farmers and people that have been killing animals for a long time that don't have empathy for those animals? Are those people like okay to do it then, or?
No, I'm not saying that a lack of empathy justifies something. I'm just saying the way we construct our moral systems, I do think empathy at the very least plays a very huge role there.
Okay, if we were to be in a society where people just didn't have empathy for animals because they were used to like hunting them and eating them, so like in any old like rural society, in those societies then is it just moral to eat animals since they don't have empathy for them?
No, I literally just explained that I don't think a lack of empathy justifies killing.
Wait, you're begging the question. You're defining empathy as feeling for animals when some people don't have those feelings, but you're just saying, well, if they don't, they're missing something. How can you define that? You're like you're begging so hard right here.
That's not what I'm doing. All I said was I think how we construct our moral systems. It's very likely that, at the very least, empathy is what we base our moral systems on. At least most of us. There's some psychopaths where they.
No one is talking about a psychopath. I'm saying that, like, in an early human society, where if they don't have empathy for animals and they eat them, how can you say, like, well, that's just a lack of empathy for animals? I mean, they have a lack of empathy for trees, but like, I don't see. I don't say that's a real argument.
Early human societies had a lack of empathy for other human beings, so, like. I don't know why you're trailing off on this.
I'm not trailing off. Well, now you're proving my argument then that like morality is like a little bit like subjective and that using empathy as a defining factor for whether or not that makes it.
No. I never used empathy as a defining factor.
Yes, you did. You're literally arguing that empathy is a source of.
No, I said most of us probably base our moral systems on empathy, and I think you do too. You seem to care about how.
You're implying, but when I asked you why we should care for animals, and then you said, "Well, we're empathetic towards animals," so you're implying that could be a source of.
Wait, Destiny. Okay. I think we should be logically consistent with our moral beliefs, even if we're making some basic assumptions about things. So, like you assuming that other human beings can think and feel like you can. Convince me that Nazis should care about Jews. Why should Nazis care about Jews?
I don't think I could convince you of any axiomatic statement. I don't think I could. That's why in my original argument, when you asked me about like an island of people that don't reciprocate human values, if somebody was like fundamentally incompatible at that point, then I mean, I don't think these people can coexist. I don't know if you can like argue some fundamental moral position to someone else.
You said, okay, dude, what you said was if they cannot, what was it? If they can't adhere to your social contract or reciprocate values, then it's okay for you to genocide them.
What I said was that if any person, I said that if any person would like wander onto that island and they would like murder and rape anybody that walked up, then yeah, you can kill these people.
No, that's not.
That is exactly what I said. That is the implication of what I said. You're trying to make it sound like.
Go back and look at that debate.
Yeah, you can if you want to. Well, the problem is that, because in that debate, like I assumed that you were like asking me like a good faith hypothetical. I didn't know you were going to put on a fucking lumberjack outfit afterwards and give me a worst possible interpretation of like.
Let me actually look and see if I did that.
You did.
I'm pretty sure my video would still be up. I don't know if I actually. Maybe I just quickly. Maybe it was a short skit where I kind of made fun of your position. Let me see.
Yeah, we got.
Destiny versus vegan games. Okay, so
we got like 11 minutes. Like I'm pretty sure we have like a few skits here where you're dressed up in some weird ass fucking hat, like jerking off to like killing animals and shit. Like.
What is pain
I did nearly a okay. I must have misremembered.
It's all good. Don't worry. It happens pretty frequently, surprisingly, to people that debate me. But yeah. Anyway. So like you walked away from that example trying to say like Destiny wants to fucking Hiroshima random groups of indigenous people. And I even answered you carefully. I even said, I don't believe any human being exists as you describe, but given your hypothetical, if there was some group of human beings that would savagely murder and rape any other group of humans they saw, yeah, I wouldn't give any moral consideration to those people. But I qualified this 30 times.
Like Sentinelese.
What?
Sentinelese. They murder everybody who comes near their island.
That's fine. What I'm telling you is that...
So you'd be fine with murdering...
I don't think that these people are incapable of reciprocating. But what I'm saying is that, like, I wouldn't have, like, any moral problems with it. No. If they were, like, preventing, like, or hindering human progress or something, no, I would say that, like, this...
Okay, suppose they weren't. Okay, suppose the Sentinelese were incapable of sharing values with other human beings. No matter what you did, they'd try to kill you, but they're trapped on their island. Nobody gave a shit. They're not harming anyone. You'd still be okay with somebody like a commando squad going there and murdering everybody.
I don't know why the fuck a commando squad would go there, but I would be indifferent to any group of humans that would just rape and murder any other human that showed up. Yes.
Okay. That's
cool, yeah.
That's what we discussed in the debate.
Okay,
I'm pretty
cool.
sure that's how it went.
I generally just like for the rest of my like moral positions, I generally take positions against rapists and murderers. But like that's just like on my stream. I don't know like on the vegan game stream.
Well,
like,
it seems like they only rape and murder outsiders.
Oh, so it's better. So that makes it better. You only rape and murder people that aren't from your society. That's your position on that?
Yeah, I think it makes it a little better because if you don't fuck with them, you're not going to do it.
Okay, true. All right. As long as you don't wander over there or whatever, that makes it better. Okay.
Okay, so you'd still be in favor of, or not necessarily in favor, you'd be indifferent to just having a commando squad murder everybody.
A group of people that would try to like rape and murder them? Yeah, I mean, it's like, that sounds like some Kill or Be Killed shit, yeah.
Well, no, it's not Kill or Be Killed because you could choose not to go over to fucking Sentinelese Island that doesn't have shit on it.
Well, and I mean, these people could probably also not choose to rape and murder anybody that would try to approach them.
Yeah, and you could choose not to approach them.
Okay, yeah, if you don't want to, go for it. But if somebody does, I'm not going to lose any fucking sleep over it. Like, what?
Okay, so you're saying you'd be indifferent to a commando squad wiping out the Sentinelese, assuming they can't have any outside human contact.
Would I be indifferent to somebody killing a group of people that were rapists and murderers of anybody from an outside society that showed up? I mean, yeah, I don't think I would care that much.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
I understand that. So your position on this was, if you rape and murder people, if they're from an outside society, that's like okay, was your position, or it's more understandable.
No, I'm just.
I think that's what you said verbatim, basically.
Why murder a group of people when they're not harming you?
I think verbatim earlier you said that like I can understand wanting to rape and murder anybody from like an outside society. I think that's what you said.
No, that's not what I said.
Are you
that's
sure?
not what I said here or in the debate.
Wait, are you sure that's not? Wait, so then do you think it's okay that they would rape and murder people from outside societies or not?
No, but my point is, if you don't mess with them, if you don't go near them, they're not going to fucking do that. So why the fuck murder them?
Let's say that I lived on a block, and on my house, I had a sign saying anybody that comes into my yard gets to be raped and murdered. And let's say somebody saw that, like, oh shit, and somebody wanders in my yard, and then I rape and murder them. Am I okay there, since I gave them warning?
Well, if they don't see it, then...
Well, what if they see the sign? If they see the sign, then I can rape and murder them, as long as I gave them warning?
Fuck it, I guess. Like, I'm one of those people who are... I'm fine with suicide, I'm fine with consenting combat, so... If somebody consents to being raped and murdered, then I guess it couldn't be rape if they want it to happen.
What if they thought like, no way is this guy actually gonna rape and murder me? They didn't know it was the Vegan Gains household though. They walk up, they see the sign, it's like, no fucking way. And they go onto the yard and you're okay to just rape and murder them. That's fine.
I'd have to think about that. I'm not sure.
Okay. I generally like take the position against like rapists and murderers, but it's a cool gotcha question.
Sure.
That and infinitely holocausting animals and autistic people, or whatever you guys talk about in the vegan debate servers.
Like, anyway, I think you can see how most people aren't going to wander onto North Sentinel Island. The government actually prohibits anyone from going anywhere near there. It's pretty well-known territory, so... I think any reasonable person would say, okay, if these people are, violent towards outsiders, maybe we should just leave them alone and let them live, rather than just having a commando squad go over there and murder everyone for no reason.
I'm curious. Let's say that there was a medicine or some plant that existed on this island that had like the cure for some cancer or something for fish eaters. Do you think it would be morally acceptable to go onto that island and kill anybody that interferes with you trying to procure that plant?
If you absolutely needed to, so if you needed to use lethal force to stop them, I'd say it would be morally acceptable to do so because you're doing something that's valuable for the human race. It'd save far more people.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, but we're not talking about that. Like, we're talking about just an island of people who, I don't know, just eat shit on an island and shit and fuck and have weird tribal babies and not really doing much.
Murder and rape any outsider that shows up, yeah.
Well, I don't know if they rape anyone. It looks like they just murder them, but yeah, I mean, why would you murder everyone who seems to be living there just fine?
I have no idea why anybody... It sounds like a total waste of time and money and energy. I don't know why anybody would do that. It sounds really fucking weird.
Okay, but anyway, you'd still be indifferent to just having somebody wipe them out.
Yeah, I don't really care about like murderers and rapists much, yeah.
Okay, well, they wouldn't be murderers if they, like, you don't go near them.
What kind of fucking argument is that? Like, the guy wouldn't have murdered anyone if no one got near him.
Yeah. Okay, if you have weird tribal people and they're just doing their own thing, they have their own sovereignty on their island and they don't want you coming there, what's the issue? Like, dude,
I don't really. I mean, like, it's 2020. I don't really care about like people that are gonna like murder anybody that comes near them. It sounds like a group of people that are bad hombres, man, as Trump would say.
Okay, dude. How about if you were to go to any country without like a passport, whatever, and there was no way to remove you from that country without lethal force, are you saying now that it's okay to wipe out Canada, the USA, like Pakistan, because that, like, okay, they don't want you there either, unless like you go through legal channels?
I think that these people have like established like escalation forces and have processes for like entry and leaving, and also these people have like mutually respected laws and processes with other countries. If this group of people that you were talking about had like trade relations or like relations with other countries, like, oh yeah, like here's the established doctrine for our country, blah blah blah. If you come here, like you're probably going to die or whatever, that'd be like a little bit different. I'm like, yeah, okay, this makes more sense, sure. But if it's just a group of people that just fucking murder anybody that walks by, I think that's substantially different. Yeah.
That's okay. Well, that's how they choose to run their own territory.
That's great, and your choices have consequences. Like there's serial killers that choose to serial kill. Yeah.
Different. I don't see how that's meaningfully different than somewhere like North Korea or China, where okay, if you go there illegally and you refuse to leave, yeah, they're probably going to kill you.
I mean, like, I imagine that I guess maybe for North Korea, they would instantly kill you. But I mean, I would consider that to be pretty immoral as well.
Instantly kill you?
I feel like if you cross, like, the fucking non-aggression zone or whatever, that parallel, I'm pretty sure you'd get shot and killed. But
yeah, well, I mean, any country, if you were there illegally and there was no other way to remove you without lethal force, I think they probably would go to that level. So I don't see how that's meaningfully different than the Sentinelese.
You don't see how there's a meaningful difference between me going to a country, them saying, hey, you're not allowed here, them saying, hey, we're going to try to arrest you, them saying, hey, you're fighting our cops, we're going to restrain you, them saying, hey, you're fighting the restraints, we're going to kill you. You don't see a difference between that escalation of like mutually understood laws versus a society of people going ooga booga, rape and murder you because we see you? You don't think there's a difference between those two things?
Okay, dude, again, I don't think the Sentinelese murder anybody. I think they use bows and arrows to just kill you. Maybe they rape your corpse after, but... Anyway, no, because you already know, like, what's going to fucking happen.
Okay, what's the next? What's the next argument? Okay, what's the next point? Where are we at right now?
Okay, well, dude, if you're going to care about other human beings, because why do you care about other human beings? Actually,
it's totally arbitrary. I don't know. I just think humans are worth protecting.
You just think human beings are worth protecting?
Yeah, it's pretty arbitrary. But I mean, we all start from arbitrary points, so it seems as good a place as any.
Okay, well, I think in order to be consistent with these beliefs, you should care about the well-being of other beings that can experience well-being.
Why?
Well, because they share enough traits.
Why does sharing traits mean that you're worth caring about morally?
Again, like you're basing this fundamental axiom on like the ability to experience well-being.
Not really. I just care about other human lives.
Sorry?
I just care about other human lives. That's it. Like it's literally asserted with no evidence. That's it. Just protect other human lives. That's it.
Just protect other human lives.
Yeah, like maximize other human lives. That's it. That's literally it. It's just arbitrary. There's no justification for it. Nothing to do with sentience, nothing to do with any other shit or whatever.
Okay, so you wouldn't care if there were non-sentient... So you'd still care about human beings if they were non-sentient?
Yeah, probably.
Really? Okay, so if a human being... So if all the human race had no sentience, could not experience well-being, you'd still care about them?
I guess. I mean, I wouldn't really know, right? Philosophical zombies and all that?
Okay, well, no. No. Let's assume... We know for a fact you are the only human being that has sentience. Everyone else, we can prove without any doubt that every other human being is non-sentient. You'd say you'd still care about human beings?
I guess if we could actually prove it at that point, I guess not.
So, okay, so then you do fundamentally care about sentience.
Not necessarily. Or like sentience, I guess, might be a part of it, but it's not the only part. Like sentience might be like sufficient, but not like... Or it might be necessary, but not sufficient, right?
Okay, so we need sentience, and what else do we need?
To be human. Those two things.
Okay, sentience and humanity? Okay, so let's assume you're the only human, and every other person who looks like they're human, they're not actually human.
Okay.
You'd be fine with wiping everyone out because they don't have the same chromosomes that you do?
Sure.
Okay. Look, if you're gonna play that game, then I don't know.
Okay, I'm
man.
sorry. Hold on. Let me be serious. Entertaining the hypothetical where everybody else is a human, but they're actually not.
So okay, so you said that you need sentience to have moral consideration, but it's not sufficient.
Sure,
To
necessary
have moral
but not
consideration,
sufficient. Sure.
sentience along with something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've already established you do need sentience, but what's that other thing?
Being human.
Okay, so if every other person who looked human, so like your girlfriend, your child, name everyone on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say they were not human. They did not have the same chromosomes as you. Whatever definition you use for human, they're not human. You'd be fine with wiping them out?
Well, I guess if everybody was like that, I'd probably have to extend my definition to include those people. How about humans are things like humans?
Humans are things like humans.
Yeah.
Okay, so how like a human would someone have to fucking be?
I don't know. I guess we all just have this understanding of what humans are. I'm trying to imagine, like, I'm trying to imagine for your hypothetical, like,
human, like,
what is your definition of human that like are like different chromosomes and stuff? I'm not even sure. I like extreme hypotheticals, but I honestly don't know how to engage with this one.
I don't know. We could define it in different ways. You could say different species, a different genus. I don't know.
But like all of these things are still like obviously human if we can all like reproduce together and have kids and like hang out and like understand each other and communicate with each other.
Let's say you couldn't reproduce with the rest of the species. So every other being like that looks like a human isn't human. They have
So for this part of the argument, I would have to like sit down and like draw out because I'm not normally challenged on like what is the definition of a human being. Like we have kind of like this genetic understanding of it, but if you're going to ask me what if a different being existed that was exactly like a human but like a different genetic foundation, I don't know. I'd have to sit down and think about that like really hard. I guess I've never really engaged with a question like that before.
Okay, well, it sounds like you don't really care whether or not something's human. It sounds like you care about certain traits, like a certain
I know how excited you are to run down the name the trait argument, but I'm good on that one.
Wait. It sounds like you don't really care about humans.
No, I do care about humans, but like if you're going to construct like a hypothetical argument where we're all humans but we're not humans, it's just like a really weird
specific trait. You're saying that specific trait doesn't really matter too much to you because you just said, okay, what if there was an alien civilization that looked exactly like humans and acted like humans? Like you wouldn't be in favor of holocausting them, right?
Assuming that we like interact with them on a daily basis and everything, then sure, I guess not.
Yeah, so then the human part doesn't really matter. You're more worried about other traits like intelligence.
I guess whatever falls under the like human is like a socially constructed category, and the things that fall under that category of human, I guess, are things that I would care about.
Okay, social category. So name some of these things. Like, do you have to be a certain level of intelligence? Do you have to look a certain way, act a certain way?
I don't know. Things that would make us human, generally things like the ability, like these things would all be like in a cluster of characteristics, but removing any particular one of these probably wouldn't make you inhuman, but removing enough of them probably would.
We can stack traits. Stack traits.
So having like 2 legs and 2 arms, having like a 3-part brain that gives you the ability to have like conversations and communicate complex thought and ideas, having some collection of senses that allow you to interact with the world and communicate such senses to people.
So a mentally disabled person who lacks those things, it's okay to just Holocaust them?
Probably not Holocaust them, no. But I mean, we treat those things as like possessions.
Okay, but why would it be wrong to Holocaust these people that don't have the traits that you find valuable?
Typically because those things are usually under the care of other people, and taking those things from those people would be considered immoral.
Okay, let's assume nobody cared.
Well, I guess if nobody cares, then knock yourself out, sure.
So you'd be fine with mentally disabled, crippled Holocaust?
Depends on, well, I don't know why you threw crippled in there. I don't think just being mentally disabled, though, is enough to make you inhuman. I don't think being crippled makes you inhuman as well.
Well, you said like 2 legs, 2 arms. So if somebody was like, crippled, disabled, mentally disabled to the point where they're lacking these traits that, you define as socially human, you'd be fine with holocausting them and turning them into like hamburgers.
Yeah, I guess. Would you not be?
Yeah, if they can experience well-being, if they want to live, I'd say that's immoral.
So let's say that you had like a hospital full of people that were like comatose or something.
Right.
Would you be in favor of like keeping those people alive indefinitely, or do you think those people should be euthanized?
No, okay, so if we had the technology and resources to keep them alive indefinitely, and assuming there's a small chance that they might wake up or something, even then, I've known some people who've been in comas for a very, very long time, like 20 years, and they were actually in like this weird dreamlike state. If we actually had the technology and resources to accommodate those people, I would say it's probably wrong to, pull the plug and kill them, assuming they want to live. But, because we live in a world of limited resources, there's only so many hospital beds, things like that. We do have to make, those sort of accommodations. So
you're saying that the potentiality of them having an experience past their coma makes them worthy of protection?
Yes, like that's assuming we have the resources to actually take care of them.
Gotcha. So then do you think that abortion is morally wrong since fetuses have a potentiality for experience past being born?
So, assuming the fetus is sentient, I've actually changed my position on abortion a bit. Assuming once sentience arises, I would say there are a number of situations where it'd be wrong to get an abortion. So say
any abortion that doesn't endanger the life of the mother is basically murder.
Not necessarily. There are some circumstances where I'd be in favor of abortion after the fetus becomes sentient.
Like what?
So, in a situation where a woman is raped and like they're forced to get pregnant, like they're kidnapped or something, and like situations like that.
What about a case where a woman gets like, let's say a woman goes to a clinic and it finds out that the child is going to be like severely mentally disabled, like Down syndrome?
Yeah.
So you're in favor of holocausting mentally disabled people then, in the forms of abortions?
Yeah, in the forms of abortions, just because I'd say it's more humane.
To infinitely holocaust mentally disabled people. Then why is your position any different than mine?
Sorry?
How is your position any different than mine?
Okay, so it's a form of mercy killing. I'd say there's a difference here because bodily autonomy of the mother also plays a role in like my moral distinction here.
Okay. So the autonomy of somebody else's comfort takes precedence over another human life?
Yeah. To some extent. So if you have a fetus growing inside you that is going to be severely mentally disabled, it's going to be a huge issue to take care of the person. It's living inside your body currently, and if you basically if you take it out of you, it'll die. I think that that added aspect to it where it is interfering with you personally, and it will interfere with you personally. You're going to have to take care of it, and it's going to be an extra expense taking care of a child like this.
Sure. So if genociding mentally retarded things for your comfort is admissible, didn't you just describe all of animal agriculture? You're just genociding retarded beings that are making your life better by doing it?
No. Well, we've already established you're not. It's harming humanity, and you agreed with it.
Well, no, but I'm saying in terms of, personal comfort. Isn't, a pig just like a retarded human? Couldn't you infinitely genocide them in order to eat them because it makes your life better? The same way that you could genocide, retarded fetuses in order to make the women's lives better?
No. Okay, so this is completely disanalogous. So, on the one hand, you're forcing animals to breed, whereas...
What if you didn't force them? What if you just put them in pens and you let them choose? You think they would abstain from sex?
Okay, well, they do actually have to force breeding.
Yeah, but I'm saying, let's say you let them choose naturally, right? They're probably not going to be abstinent. Animals tend to like to fuck.
Sure. Yeah. The issue there is I don't know if you could really call that choosing.
What do you think animals do normally when left to their own devices?
You're forcing them into a situation. You're constructing a situation where something's inevitably going to happen.
Sure.
But I still see this as disanalogous because you are making these choices for another being, whereas you're making this choice for yourself. Like, okay, so either forcing other animals to breed or allowing them to breed on their own, like whatever hypothetical you want to use, you're the one ultimately choosing whether or not to basically kill the organism, whereas that's not the choice of the mother in that situation.
Well, what I'm saying is, what's the difference? So a mother can wander into a clinic and kill a mentally retarded fetus to make her life easier. Or I could just randomly wander into a forest and kill a deer to eat it to make my life easier. What's the difference between these two things?
The difference between these two things is the deer is not connected to your body. The deer has a much higher level of sentience. It's also not in a state where it will very likely experience, a lot of future hardship potentially. And the deer is also in a position where it can actually...
Wait, how could it not experience future hardship? Don't animals in the wilderness get like fucking murdered and shit all the time by other animals?
Well, sure, but I guess you could compare it to like standard within species, or you could look at like there's different hardships that a deer would face versus mentally mentally disabled and crippled person would face.
Sure. So if we look at standard within species, if we could factory farm animals to have happier lives than they would in the wilderness, where they're getting like hunted and murdered all the time, would that make that farming more ethical than just leaving them to their own devices?
It would. Okay, so. Let me think. In one way, it would make it more ethical. In another way, it would not, because there's an exploitation element to it.
What does the exploitation matter if you're offering like protection and services? Like, does the animal care that it's being exploited at that point?
Okay, well, I do see exploitation as morally wrong. I think regardless of whether or not the being recognizes if it's exploitative or not. But anyway, the moral distinction that I'm making here is, for one thing, you're interfering with another organism, whereas in this case, the organism is interfering with your body, like the fetus. The fetus is also going to be at a much lower level of sentience, and I think just its level of brain development, it's not in a situation where it can even decide whether or not it actually wants to live. So there's a number of factors here, like bodily autonomy, the intelligence and the development of the fetus, whether or not it actually wants to live, potential future harm that you could be avoiding, and I mean the overall burden on the mother, like potential future burden. Like some people like literally just can't afford to have, kids with special needs, at least not to that extent,
All of these are like surrounding issues that are seeming to complicate or nuance this a lot. Like I feel like I could sidestep like all of these issues and create like an animal farm where animals run around and are free from like torture and all of that. And then just like once they've lived past the normal life expectancy of an animal in the wilderness, like I butcher it painlessly and eat it. And I feel like that would be more moral than letting them exist in the wilderness. Maybe if I argue that we should have like some moral compulsion to all sentient beings, I might even argue that that's more moral, that you actually have a compulsion to do factory farming over letting them roam freely, because that would cause more suffering to like animal sentience.
Okay, that could justify things like the apartheid. So you can look at quality of life measurements, like you can just ask for things like subjective level of happiness, average income, things like this, like crime rates. After the apartheid, the average income of black families, I think at least at one point, it dipped. Crime rates increased. A number of quality of life measures decreased after the apartheid. So just because you can find some sort of quality of life measurements improving if you're doing some like sort of farming thing like you're proposing here, that doesn't mean it's morally right. again, the
Well, but we're not talking about the difference between like fully integrating animals into society with equal rights versus enslaving them. We're talking about the difference between them wandering around in nature and getting painfully and brutally murdered or having their balls eaten by other lions versus being like farmed. Now, in terms of like apartheid being moral or not, I would say apartheid is probably a bad thing compared to how humans normally choose to live. But my guess is that if there was a group of humans that could choose between being in an apartheid versus having to live in some like killing fortress where other humans were like raping and murdering them constantly.
Okay, well, you're talking about. Well, wait, you're talking about like an improvement here, and the improvement you're talking about is these quality of life measures, like you're less likely to die a horrible death, like maybe your life will be happier overall. But you're also taking away these animals like freedom. You're systematically murdering them. I think, like. It's hard to like ask a deer or a cow this, but I think most of them, if they had the intelligence to ask, they'd probably say, I'd prefer to live wild and have my own freedom, not be exploited, not have a determined death date, things like that. And
you think that an animal given the option between being able to live free and getting brutally murdered by some other hunter versus like having a predetermined death date where it lives a relatively stress-free and careless life, you think they'd choose the freedom option?
Humans do this.
Do you think that animals have the same desire? First of all, humans don't do this. You're just wrong.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do.
No, they
don't. Okay, they absolutely do. Humans absolutely do.
Humans, every human being right now has the opportunity to like throw off the shackles of modern life and go live in a fucking forest if you want to. Nobody would choose that option. People definitely
do that. What the fuck are you talking about? People do that. Are you insane? You're telling me no one has grown up in modern society and then chose to live out in the wilderness?
No one. I'm saying the vast majority, 99.999% of people choose to enslave themselves to society rather than live with absolute freedom.
Okay, dude.
We're not all the Unabomber.
Okay, bro. These sorts of things happen all the time where people do.
Can you quantify all the time? Give me a percentage here.
I don't know, dude. Like people do choose to have harder lives. Okay.
Yeah, but they generally choose some restrictions to make their lives easier, like living in a society.
Sure.
Which brings with it a lot of rules. If I lived in a forest, I could run around naked all day. I could stand on my hands and jerk off into fucking trees. But I choose to restrict myself in a lot of fucking ways. And I think most people are okay with that trade-off.
Okay, well, like I'll give this example. There are, like most women actually in Saudi Arabia, if you talk to them, they actually say they'd prefer to have the limited amount of rights they have now than have equal rights and responsibilities as men do.
Wait, that's just proving my argument. That people choose more restrictions in order to make themselves happier. So the animals would all want to wear burqas, basically, in the farm.
Not necessarily. So, like, I don't know where I was going with that. Now I totally forgot. But anyway, I think that this is kind of off track. Anyway, the point that I should have really made first of all is, I see this as exploitative, like this farming thing that you're doing. I think there's a better option where we don't murder the animals and exploit them. I think that goes against their own interests. Like, okay, if their only choice they had was between the farm where, they could live a happy life and then they have like a determined death day versus, living out in the wilderness where they have to fend for themselves. I think some of them would prefer to live out in the wilderness. Some would prefer to live, happy. I think humans would make a similar choice if they were in similar circumstances. Some would prefer the determined death day, some wouldn't. But we have like a third option where we just don't fuck with the animals.
What if you made a farm, but it was like open access? So if they wanted to, they could come and eat and stay. And if they wanted to, they could wander off and go somewhere else. But if they stayed at the farm, they got protection. And if they've been at that farm for more than 5 years, then you kill them because it's their due date. Do you think that would be moral or ethical?
No. The issue is, okay, is this assuming they know they're going to get killed?
I don't know. Can animals know such a thing?
Possibly.
Oh, then sure. I guess if they know they're going to be killed. Wait, you really think an animal can perceive like a future death day and understand that and comprehend that?
I think some might be intelligent enough. Some. So like, I don't know, very intelligent animals like whales, octopi, maybe like crows or something. Maybe. Okay. But the issue here is, like, you don't know. It's like if you were to have a gingerbread house out in the woods, like that a witch is running. Okay, well, if the kids stay here and eat all this candy, you know, after a while, I'm gonna, you know, kill them. That's ethical. They chose to stay here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have an aspect of knowledge here. Like, if the animals are totally ignorant to this, then I'd say it's immoral. If somehow, like, an animal could know this and they're, like, willingly choosing it, then I can't come up with, like, an argument against that. But I think you'd agree. Most animals aren't going to be aware that, okay, the nice man who's giving me food and protection is going to murder me eventually.
How do we know if the animal knows?
Okay, we kind of have to assume that they wouldn't know. I'd
How
imagine.
can you assume that they have sentience, but assume like lack of knowledge on their part about this? How could you know that?
Okay, well, assuming sentience and assuming lack of knowledge are very different things. I mean,
we all
can
have similar brain structures, right? If sentience arises from the similarity in brain structures between these two species.
Sentience and knowledge are two completely different. Sentience, knowledge, and intelligence are like completely different fucking things.
Yeah, I agree. But in terms of mammals, we all have like this kind of like prefrontal cortex, midbrain.
Okay, sure. So like a baby, similar brain structure to us. So if I ask a baby, okay, touch the gun if you want me to blow your head off, and the baby touches the gun, I should just assume that it has the knowledge and intelligence to know that it want.
Not like, a baby, but we would wait for them to be fully developed as like an adult in that species. So I'm all I'm curious of asking is like, how can you tell me that a dog? How can you tell me that a dog, you know, because a dog's similar brain structure to us gives rise to sentience in the dog, but you don't know whether or not it can understand future events? How can you know one but not the other?
Well, it can understand future events. It just might not necessarily understand that you're going to kill it. It doesn't understand things like language. It can't understand context like we can.
So there's no way to communicate that to like a dog at all? What if you had like pictures laid out, or like it saw other dogs being killed after eating like 50 times or something?
It is possible that an animal would know that it's going to end up being killed. That does happen. Like I've seen like horrible shit from the Yulin Dog Festival where dogs know they're about to be killed and they do everything they can to escape. The issue is just the way its brain works. It's not going to be able to, like, you're not going to be able to show it a photo, it be able to see and understand the photo and be like, this is going to be you in 3 months. Like, a dog's brain doesn't really work like that. It kind of has to like see right in front of it something that's going on, and then it can make the connection there, but it's not going to understand like, okay, in 3 months or in 2 years or whatever, how long you're planning on raising these animals, I'm going to kill you and eat you. Like, it's just not going to understand that. Like, their brains just don't work that way.
It's interesting that you can be so positively sure that they have sentience, but then also be positively sure that their minds are so. How do you know that, like, I'm curious, how do you know that the understanding of like past and future, behavior doesn't prove sentience?
No, I'm not talking about behavior proving sentience. Like, you can look at animal behavior. Dogs can lose track and like forget things like almost instantly if they're distracted.
Yeah, so can humans with ADHD, right?
No, not in the same way.
Sometimes even worse. Yeah.
Sorry?
Sometimes even worse. They could lose. Yeah, sure.
Okay, no, still not in the same way. If you tell a human being, even with ADHD, that I'm going to kill you in 2 years, and then you distract it with something, it'll still, like, the human being will probably still remember that.
I don't know. Human beings make a lot of strange decisions when there are delayed consequences. I mean, we have horrible diets. We engage in things like pollution. We don't exercise enough. And like, there's all like pretty clear indicators that if you do this, like how many people go to the hospital with obesity and they're looking for like, you know, diabetes medication. The doctor's like, hey, you need to eat less or you're going to die. And then they keep eating and then they die. Seems like pretty common. How many people don't wear masks because of the coronavirus?
Okay, so that's not, okay, those are two different things. You're talking about delayed consequence, making people forget that there's a consequence. They're not forgetting that there's a consequence. It's just that they have like a mental disorder or they have an addiction or something like that, or they just personally care more about the short-term pleasure than the long-term consequence.
Yeah, so how could you differentiate between whether or not a dog cares more about the short-term pleasure versus the long-term consequence, rather than he just doesn't have the foresight to know what's going to happen? How could you possibly have this much insight into the dog mind?
Okay, so there are behavioral. I don't know why I can't explain. pronounce that. There's behavioral
Behavioral, yeah.
yeah, with dogs where you can actually look at their attention span and you can look at their memory retention. So you can probably just look this up on YouTube if you use the right keywords. So what you can do is you can put a bunch of bowls in front of a dog, and then you can put like the treat in one of the bowls. Now, if the dog doesn't get any distractions, it will remember where that treat is. Now, if you put the food in the bowl and it's covered, and then you give the dog some sort of distraction, or you have it leave the room for a certain amount of time, it won't remember where that thing is. Like, it has to search for it now. Other animals, like pigs, they're actually much better than dogs at this sort of thing, where if you put the food like covered in the bowl and then you have it leave the room for like 30 minutes, the pig will actually remember right like where it was. So certain animals are better at that sort of thing than others, but I mean, when you're talking about the span of 3 months or 2 years, however long you're planning on raising a particular animal, like even, you know, better animals that are better at this, like pigs, they're probably not going to remember. And again, you're going to have to even ensure that you can communicate this sort of thing to them where, okay, you're going to die in like 2 months. Like, they don't understand language. It's kind of difficult to show them like photos of something. And even if it's something like graphic that happens in front of them, they might just forget just because of the way their brains work. You also have to factor in too, like, because they're not terribly intelligent animals, if you care for them and feed them and stuff, they're going to develop some sort of like trust where like maybe they'd think, okay, you're not going to do that to them.
Yeah, sure. If you think that animals like being free is generally more moral than like taking care of them and whatever at some predetermined date or whatever, killing them, how do you justify things like pet ownership? Isn't that like a form of like animal slavery?
I am totally and utterly against the pet industry. I think animal breeding is completely and horribly wrong. I think it's fine to own a pet if you rescue them, and all my pets are rescued. So
shouldn't you like rescue it and set it free in the wilderness, though? Wouldn't that be the more moral thing to do?
No, because they'd end up dying, getting run over by a car, starving to death.
Wait, aren't you describing the existence of like every cow or pig that would be released into the wilderness?
Well, we wouldn't release cows and pigs into the wilderness. That especially pigs, dude. That'd be a horrible fucking environmental disaster. Pigs actually survive very well in the wild. Not so sure about cows, but yeah, you wouldn't want to release domesticated animals out into the wild. It would be, especially pigs, it'd be an environmental disaster.
So you would just let them go extinct?
Yeah. We should have these animals go extinct.
Gotcha. Wait, you don't own cats, right?
I have a cat, and it is being fed a vegan diet. It's been on a vegan diet for 7 months now, and perfectly healthy, nothing wrong with it. We've gotten cat several health checkups. It's healthy, happy kitty. And you can feed a cat a vegan diet, by the way.
Do you think that it's like...
I know there's a lot of fuckers in the chat who are gonna like fucking blow up right now.
Do you think that it's like... Do you think you would be like morally righteous if you were to become like a cat Rambo and go around like murdering cats, since most of them are fed all meat diets?
Okay, so with regards to wild animals, I've actually debated this with Dr. Avi. I don't know if you know of him, but yeah, I can't find. I haven't been able to come up with a good counter argument against killing
like apex predators.
Predatory animals, like I don't know, eagles, lions, things like that. Unless it would end up causing more deaths because of, you know, how they fit into their own ecological niche. I can't think of a good argument against killing these animals, these predatory animals. But the thing is, cats can be fed a vegan diet. So, you know, just switching people onto, you know, their cats onto a vegan diet, I think that would solve that problem.
Gotcha.
Like, we're talking about domesticated animals.
So you think it's okay to kill like predator animals that like sit at the top of the food chain or whatever?
Assuming that killing them would not result in more suffering and death of their prey species, then I would say yes.
So would you be okay holocausting that group of natives on that island you talked about if they were all meat eaters?
Okay, if they could be fed a vegan diet, then I'd be fine. If
But
they're
in
just
order to
going
teach them a vegan diet, you'd have to be able to communicate with them, and all they want to do is rape and murder people. so.
Not necessarily. You could just drop food onto their island and they'd just eat that.
But if you drop food and they ate it, but then they went back to like raising and murdering animals, you think it'd be ethically justifiable to Holocaust that island of people?
Yeah, if there was, maybe. If there's no way to actually get them on a vegan diet, like, indefinitely, then sure.
Okay. Well, are there any other points you want to go over?
I don't know, man. Pretty exhausted. It's like 3 a.m. here, so...
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
this
listen.
was fun, though.
Yeah, I like screaming at you. It's fun to hang out. I don't hate you or anything. I look forward to all the vegan response videos to this conversation, so...
I feel very much the same. It's let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, all right. Well, have fun. Stay safe, buddy. Be careful.
Take care.
Bye. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. Okay, there. It's January 10th, 11th, technically. I have exhausted my patience for vegan arguments for the rest of the year, okay? I gave you your vegan argument, and now we're done with them, okay? For the rest of the year. My, oh God. I'm probably going to ban all vegan topics for the next, like, week and a half, because I can already see all the fucking vegans are frothing at the fucking mouth to like make fucking dumbass response videos about how I would kill all the Jews or some crazy stupid shit. I know that one lady, I don't remember her name, whatever, is probably already like, oh God, he fucking wants to murder. But I'm not gonna do any response to response videos or watching all of the militant fucking vegans that are fucking frothing at the mouth of this. At the end of the day, whether or not you want to protect animals or animals and humans, it's all some fucking it's all some arbitrary fucking choice. It's all bullshit. You can't actually, like, from some meta ethics point, give like some concrete, unless you believe like in some objective fucking moral realism bullshit, all right? Unless you're gonna start screaming at me in German, okay? There's no fucking way you're convincing me of any of that bullshit. So you know what? Fuck animals. Fuck vegans. Fuck all that shit. But if somebody wants to argue, hey, veganism or vegetarianism is really good for the environment, so we should probably reduce our animal agriculture. You know what? I can get behind that argument. Yeah, fucking A, dude. So if people want to pass laws or some shit related to that, yeah, fuck it. I'd be on board. Sure.
You know, I thought we had peaked when he justified North Korea arresting people that arrive in their country. But then 3 sentences later, he started talking about eugenics. Huh.
I think the peak for this conversation was every sentence in this study is wrong, but these 2 numbers actually prove me correct. I think that was the peak of that conversation. Big Joel posted like 20 tweets about you. What did he tweet at? Oh God, what did he post? That guy is another dumb fuck lefty.
Don't ruin another YouTuber for me, please.
Oh no. I have one question. You said that purchasing meat does no direct harm, so you don't really change behavior on an individual level. Do you think this applies to voting as well? As in, one person voting or not voting doesn't change anything? And if so, why do you think people should vote if you do? Yeah, no, I agree that the same thing applies to voting as well. I think that if there are behaviors that we need all of society to do, but if one individual doesn't do them, it doesn't cause any harm, that behavior needs to be legislated. I think that this is like the free rider problem, right, Irk? Aren't we basically just talking about a free rider problem? This is why I think voting should be compulsory. I vote because I talk about like political issues and shit. So like I think that it's probably important to vote because it shows that I'm committed to what I'm talking about. But like I do think it's hard if voting like represented like a big hurdle to somebody's like free time or some shit. Like, yeah, fuck it. Then yeah, I could understand people like saying like, yeah, fuck it. Like my one vote won't matter, which is why it should be compulsory, I think. Yeah. Oh God. I've been watching a lot of Destiny debates with lefties lately. Oh boy. And my favorite part is when at the beginning he says, I don't have a principled attachment to capitalism. And then someone's like, we should take resources from rich people. And he says, so you want to steal? That's wrong. Wait, when the fuck do I ever say that? Like, are you talking about literally like stealing people's shit? Or are you just talking about like progressive taxation and redistribution of wealth? Because all the time I argue in favor of like progressive taxation and redistribution of wealth. But It's very understandable, but the mistakes people keep making is thinking that Destiny's pragmatic and just works best defense of capitalism is the one that really matters, and that if you defeated that, he'd be a socialist. No, he has a moral commitment to capitalism. Why are all these YouTubers so fucking stupid? Is this guy a YouTuber? Is he just a Twitch streamer?
Hey, everybody.
Oh my god, he's a big YouTuber too. Damn. It's like the more subscribers, the less fucking neurons or whatever that you have in their fucking brain. I've seen like 9 responses saying, Destiny thinks taxes are good. Sure, but that doesn't make him comfortable morally with the notion of seizing the vast amount of the means of production from the bourgeois, and he's expressed many times. Well, yeah, because these are two totally fucking different things. Do you remember talking to him before? Didn't we talk to him about something related to scalpers? It was like an embarrassingly stupid conversation if he was the guy. He seemed polite. Fuck, I shouldn't say that. Now I'm just shitting on him because he's shitting on me. It wasn't actually an embarrassingly stupid conversation. I thought that he had a bad conversation about it. I shouldn't be like, really harsh on him for it. But I didn't think he had any good points. He had a lot of really bad points. Okay, so yeah, I guess if I have to like, I guess if I had to say this, I'm comfortable with like taxes, like progressively redistributing wealth to society to like programs and people that need it. But I'm not comfortable with a revolution that would cause like massive violence and outbreak, or the thievery of like all capital and somehow redistributing that to people in a way that's yet to be demonstrated in an efficacious manner. If you're going to nail me to the wall on that one, then yeah. Destiny's in favor of progressive taxation, but not expropriation of all capital? Yeah, you got me there, but okay. The way y'all are acting, you think literally every liberal is de facto morally fine with socialism, which, no, that's not actually true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, this is the clip I'm thinking of. Oh, God, the cancer clip. How much you want to bet that big dipshit here didn't even watch this whole debate? He's just seen the 20-second cutouts. So it's like, Destiny wants to fucking nuke Vietnam. But okay, this is the clip I'm thinking of. Make of it what you will, but when I hear it, I hear someone starting with a pragmatic defense of capitalism and moving to a moral one with his treatment of the notion of taking houses. It's about an hour into his non-compete debate. Imagine, I can't believe that like lefties still like obsessively watch these old shitty fucking debates that I have. Jesus.
If they're hungry, why not just give them food?
Because this fantasy world where we can have maximum production to give everybody houses, food, clothing, it doesn't exist. It's not possible.
6 times more empty houses in the United States than there are homeless people. We throw away.
Wait, how do those two numbers connect at all? What does that have to do with anything at all?
Why should anybody be homeless when we have empty houses? Everyone can have 6 houses.
I don't know what an empty house has to do with a homeless person. Are you going to steal those houses from people that own them, or what? What's the?
Yes.
Why not? I mean, I'm not. It's strange that as an anarcho-communist, you're telling me that. I think so. In the context of this conversation, it seems to me that like socialists seem to think that like we could give everybody everything and there would be like no problem of it. I don't think that's the reality that we live in. Or I mean, like I guess if you can do that via like alternate forms of taxation and stuff, like I'm in favor of that. But no, I'm not like in favor of just like taking things from people and like giving it to other people, I guess like by direct, I guess taxes are kind of like that, but I don't know how else I could see this, but as I'm considering the notion that taking these houses from the people who own them is wrong on the face of it. I did watch the debate in an insomniac days, though, so there may be some... Oh, so when people say stuff like this, because I used to say stuff like this, right? I don't know if you guys know this as a human. Like, humans lie when they do this. So when somebody's like, hey, did you watch that thing? And somebody's like, yeah, I watched it, but I was really tired / drunk / high / was reading it. That means they didn't actually watch it. They might have skimmed a little bit of it, and they're trying to give you an excuse for why they don't remember any of it. So there may be some strange context I'm not picking up here. I'm in favor of, like, progressive taxation shit. I'm not in favor of, like, expropriation, though. Yeah. But I guess I'm not, like, a socialist, so... I kind of forget the whole clipping Destiny franchise is about dunks. Look, the moral objection to capitalism is really the only one that matters anyway. We're not living in a society that seems primed for some juicy resolution. Changes, if they happen, will probably be incremental. The question, at least to me, is what's the goal? In a conversation between worker and boss, where do you land? Who should have more power and why should they have it? Destiny will say, I don't have a problem with the notion of socialism in the long term. I'm not attached to capitalism. And here, I'm just saying, maybe his relationship to the idea of giving workers more power is more complicated than he lets on. Anyway, I get overly wordy after 5. See, overly wordy. Wow, these 9 tweets. Like, I don't know why he wouldn't just tweet out and say, like, I think Destiny isn't a socialist or something. I don't know. Fuck these Twitter threads. This is a stupid fucking thread. I don't know what the point of this thread was. This whole conversation was cancer. The difference in determining and undermining property ownership and entitlement itself and imposing a subtle obligation that takes advantage of ownership while undermining it. Basic liberal/anti-liberal views of property. Yeah, sure. This sounds like a decent explanation. I think that like shouldering the burden on like a few people to take care of a few people is not generally how society should be ran. Like the taking care of society should be done by society. Would you be comfortable with talks about nutrition in general, not just being No, I'm bored. I'm tired as fuck, okay?
Ban vegan posting on the subreddit before you forget.
Oh, true. Yeah, everybody posting vegan shit about... Because I can already feel vegan... Destiny gave some bad arguments, but just as a warning, because I read these threads when I wake up, I am perma-banning everybody like posting vegan shit on my subreddit. It's such a boring... Vegan posters and abortion posters and anti-natalist posters are like the 3 worst posters to ever deal with. Right next to commie and Nazi bros. Those 3 are actually worse than those other 2. I don't do that shit, okay? Fuck that waste of time. Holy shit. Destiny, say we could prove that yoinking houses and just giving them to homeless people could actually solve homelessness somehow without massive negative externalities. Would you be fine with that? Or is it still... If you provided, like, compensation, I'd be more on board with it, sure. If you compensated people at market rates for their property, then sure, I guess. If that was literally the only way to do it.
Yeah, programs like this, like, exist where, like, governments will just, like, rent out apartments to give it to homeless people.
Mm-hmm. Housing first policies to address homelessness seem to be the only thing that work anyway. The idea that you can help a homeless guy by giving him a fucking meal and a shower and then setting him on his way is beyond fucking stupid. You probably have to get people housed before they can make real steps to recovery, so that should probably be the starting point anyway. Okay.
You mentioned anti-natalism. Can we preemptively ban anti-natalist arguments?
Nobody seriously makes anti-natalist arguments anyway, so fuck them. They're all just sad posters, doomers. Okay. Christ, what a weird fucking day. I love you guys. It's been a real one. Stay safe. Stay safe. Ripperino, cappuccino, pappuccino, cappuccino, 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 my dude right now. I will hopefully be on time tomorrow, but I might sleep in. We'll see. Yeah, go watch Melina for a little bit. Stay safe, guys. Peace out.